Good afternoon, curling fans. Welcome to Penticton in the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic Final. It looks a lot like the welcome to the Scottish National Championship Final. But no, here we are in beautiful Penticton in lovely British Columbia in the Okanagan Valley, and we've got two Scottish curling teams playing for $16,000 here in Penticton. This is the final, and it is going to be an amazing match as you've got Glenn Muirhead's rink from Perth up against Ross Paterson's rink from Glasgow. I'm Jock Tyre. I'm joined by Elaine Dag-Jackson here for today's game. Welcome, Elaine.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this championship final at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic in Penticton. So this Penticton event has quickly become a favorite of the curlers on the tour. It's only the second year here in Penticton for this event, but it's a big one. They are playing for one of the largest cash purses on the tour outside of the major slam events. And right here in British Columbia, we're so proud to have the event here in Penticton, beautiful Okanagan in British Columbia. So this event started last year. It was an instant success. The hosting was amazing, and we'll be telling you a few stories about that during this broadcast. But thanks for joining us for this game.
Glenn Muirhead comes in with a record of 5-0, and then in the round robin play, Ross Patterson, a 4-1 record. Back in 2016-17, Ross Paterson and Glenn Muirhead were actually teammates on Tom Brewster's rink, joined out with the foursome rounded out by Hammy McMillan Jr. Hammy recently won with Bruce Mowat. They just won the European Championships this weekend, and so these are former teammates, second and third, now both skipping and now playing against each other here in Penticton at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic.
The Europeans was just on this past week, just finishing up over the weekend, and it is a huge event in international play. It's like our Scotties or Brier, but on an international basis in Europe. So a lot of the teams that we saw here last year leading into the Pyeongchang Olympics were not able to make it here this year. They were playing at the Europeans. It's a huge event for them. So some of the Sweden, Switzerland, Norway teams did not make it to this event, which opened up the opportunity for a few more of our BC teams to get into this bonspiel. It's not easy to get into. It's such a great bonspiel, and it gives the BC curlers an opportunity to get some more experience at these World Curling Tour events. Lots of points at stake here today, and as there was throughout the week here in Penticton.
So let's introduce these two teams. Ross Paterson's rink from Glasgow has got third Kyle Waddell, second Duncan Menzies, and lead Michael Goodfellow. The interesting part about Kyle Waddell is last year Kyle Waddell was playing for Kyle Smith, and Kyle Smith was his skip, and he's now playing third for Glenn Muirhead. Thomas Muirhead and Cammy Smith are also on that team, and Kyle played with those. So you've got former teammates against each other in both categories. Muirhead playing with Patterson and Waddell playing with Kyle Smith, Thomas Muirhead and Cammy Smith. Over on the Muirhead rink, you've got two brothers, Glenn and Thomas, who also happen to be Eve Muirhead's brothers, paired up with Kyle and Cammy Smith, or Cameron, but the boys like to call him Cammy. Those are brothers as well, the Smith brothers. So it's not a coincidence. Yep, Smith is a common name, but in this case they are brothers. Both teams coming in after big wins right down to the last rock. Patterson defeating Jason Gunlison 9-6, where Matt Dunstone was defeated by Glenn Muirhead in the other semifinal match. And here we're underway. Because of the record, 5-0, Glenn Muirhead has the hammer in the first end. There's no draw to the button for the hammer, and Patterson finishing with a 4-1 record.
So throughout the week, in the round robin portion of the event, each of the teams played a 5-team round robin. There was 4 pools, with the winners of those pools, the top 8 finishers, coming through to the qualification round of the top 8 in the money round. During those round robin games, as Jock mentioned, the teams did draw for hammer. The last stone draw has been a huge thing in curling and determining outcomes of games, because we know that the team that starts out with hammer has a really good chance of winning the game. We'll bring you a few of those numbers later in the broadcast. They did not have to draw for hammer this time due to the undefeated finish of.
Just let it go. That's fine. Okay, Cammy.
I think what a lot of curlers maybe in Canada and North America be surprised by is that at the Worlds and at the Europeans, they use world rules and they record all those last stone draws. And at the end of the week, a team can be eliminated with a similar record if their last stone draw is not as good as another team. So teams actually can be eliminated from play using the cumulative last stone draw at either the Europeans or at the Worlds.
That is true. In tour play, it is pretty uncommon for teams to be eliminated on the last stone draw. They really make every attempt to go to a tiebreaker, which is the traditional way of determining the outcome of a curling game. But the last stone draw is definitely a factor that enables a team to jump ahead in standings if they're tied with other teams. So it's something that the teams practice a lot. They put a huge degree of emphasis on that in their training. Every member of the team needs to be able to do the last stone draw, because when they get to these bigger events and to world play, provincial play, national play, every team member has to take a turn at throwing those last stone draws.
So these teams know each other fairly well. Looks like we're getting off to actually a little bit of a defensive start with the 5-rock rule in play. The Muirhead team went right to they were drawing for the top 4, but went deep in this one. And Ross Patterson happy enough just to draw down to the back. A little bit of shrapnel at the back there, and it looks like we're just going to go behind that one center guard instead of getting a whole lot of rocks in play in this first end.
Bump it, guys. You can bump it.
So a little bit interesting, Jocks mentioned we have an all-Scotland final. Kudos to Team Scotland. They've had teams all over our country competing this fall. Team Muirhead, Team Paterson, Team Mowat have all been to Canada in numerous events, with these two Scottish teams coming through and being the final two here at this event. And Team Bruce Mowat of Scotland winning the European Championship. As mentioned, huge event. So great showings by Team Scotland in recent weeks in the curling world.
A little bit of a Canadian contingent on this final, as little as there is, but we've got the two coaches for these teams. Ross Patterson's team being skipped by Ian Tetley, and his former skip, Al Hackner, is actually taking care of Team Muirhead right now.
Last game, I mentioned you can tweet some questions to us if you like, at 4 Foot Curling. That's at numeral 4, FOOT Curling. And I did have a question that I didn't have a chance to get to, tweeted to us, Jock, and that's, what do we think about the Canadians coaching the international teams? Are we for it, or are we against it, or are we somewhere in between?
Well, Lane, if you want me to answer that, being as you're a national coach for Canada, and I actually do a little bit of coaching out in the European world, I'm wholeheartedly for it. One of the things that I really like to see is, believe it or not, is in the United States is such a huge growth in the United States, and I believe that the coaching is helping bring other countries on board and make them stronger. As much as people love to see Canada win every game, and trust me, I'm one of those guys that loves to see Canada win all the time, if the rest of the world's not competitive, it doesn't make for a very interesting sport. So in my case, I'm absolutely for Canadians spreading their talents abroad. No matter what you say, the rest of the world hasn't caught up to Canada, because we have over 1 million active curlers in our country, and that is more than the rest of the world combined.
Yes, Jock, I see your point, and I don't disagree. I also like to look at it from the point of view of the coaches, and when you have a passion for coaching, you really want to find a place to express yourself and to be able to use your coaching skills to excel and become a better coach. And some of those opportunities are not in Canada. It's not easy to get to coach at national and world events, and it's a great experience for our Canadian coaches to be able to coach at those events. We know at some point they're all bringing something back to Canada. Those experiences at coaching at those high-level events will always make them better coaches when they come back home. And we know that they're in our curling clubs, they're at our provincials, they're in our junior programs, and they're bringing all of those things that they know to curlers in Canada as well.
So since you've given me this opportunity, I'm going to make a little bit of a shout out to the German women's national team, Danny Jensch's team,
Yes,
who
you
I get
should
to do
do.
that for now. Thanks, Elaine.
It's on the button frozen.
Who
so
I've been
I'd rather
working
get
with
rid of it
on and
now
off,
than
who finished
take
third
the
at
guard,
the Europeans. They
might
got
not
the
see
bronze
this
medal at
again.
Europeans, so congratulations to them. And again, the Europeans is an amazing championship. If you ever get an opportunity to travel to Europe and watch, it is a lot like watching a Briar and a Scotties at the same time, because they host both the men's and the women's at the exact same time. So we got a lot of rocks in play, but pretty much everything's behind the tee line right now. And there it goes. Everything's blown apart.
Good, Thomas.
And when we're done, Muirhead is lying 2. And they've got that center guard still up there.
Here again.
So there were a lot of rocks in play halfway through this end. We
Sorry.
still have half of the rocks to come, so
Two good ones.
it's been rather interesting to
I would
see
say
how
so.
fast
Even
those
if
rocks
you
can
hit high,
go
tries to
away
blast,
when
it should go there.
they decide to change tactics a
Like
little
that.
bit. So
I'm just saying, if you go
we've
here,
seen the teams position in the first part of the end, trying
get away.
to, if they have hammer, trying to get a position in order to score 2, and if they don't have the hammer, attempting to force a point, and it's a little bit of cat and mouse,
Yeah.
positioning the rocks. And when they finally decide if they've got an advantage or a disadvantage, partway through the end, they have to decide what they're going to do to finish off the end. Sometimes that involves cleaning it up, and we see an unexpected blank. We'll see how this end progresses in the second half.
And as we were talking in the semifinal,
good.
both these teams are more than capable of
Line's
throwing
good.
a high, hard one, but you're going to see a
Line.
lot of control weight up until the moment that they really need it.
No,
And then
man,
they have,
no.
both teams have that
Left.
ability to throw it really
Just
hard
right.
and really straight
Line's good,
to
line's
clean
good.
the mess up.
Line. Carl, Mike. Line's good. Line's good. Line's good. Line's good. Get it there. Line's good. Yeah.
Done a fabulous job here with the ice, getting some really nice curl. The speeds have been excellent all week long. And what a terrific freeze there. It's absolutely welded on that back one.
All we've got is the freeze.
Yeah, the ice has been great
Just freeze.
under the supervision of Chris Jones here at the Penticton Curling Club. He has supervised and led his ice crew to a very consistent week of curling for these teams here in Penticton. They've had some fast ice with just enough curl.
Easy line.
They did
Easy for line.
condition the rocks
Tommy's
about a
in.
week ago, or about a week before the event started, which gave them an opportunity to calm down a little bit, allowing for more consistent
Tommy's in.
ice conditions throughout
Tommy,
the week,
all in.
as opposed
All
to
in.
when they do it just before an event and you find some very, very aggressive curl early and decreasing amount of curl as the event goes along. So I think the curlers like it to be a little bit more consistent, not changing throughout the event.
You heard
Yep.
Glenn asking Cammy to pull it in. That's a little bit of that directional sweeping going on. If you look at the angle's quite well set up for Team Muirhead right now.
Same room.
And there looks like they're going to try and change those angles around a little bit here with Ross Paterson's third throwing now, Kyle Waddell.
Maybe just edged it slightly more than the rest of the boys. So it was just a slightly higher line. Pretty good
yeah.
though, Kyle.
Mike. Mike.
These teams have been playing
Line,
draws
line
all
good
week
now.
long, so they're more than
Good.
familiar with the weight.
Right.
Looks like a broom
Get
cap,
down the line.
cap off
line.
a broom head came off.
Whoa, whoa.
Got a little bit to the inside there.
So this is a game of angles here, and you can see each progressing shot. They're trying to gain an advantage over the opposition with creating an angle that's difficult for them to deal with.
So the angles are really good right now for the Red Rocks, but Muirhead's making sure it doesn't
I think we
jam.
maybe just have to.
Glenn's got to make
It's
sure that
great
doesn't
in
jam
room
on
to
the
score
side.
one anyway.
And again, everything being played behind the tee line right now makes it
Yeah, well, it's back tee.
makes
though.
it good for drawing.
We throw there, he guards then.
Third, Kyle Smith, second, Stone. We're scoreless here in the first end at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic. He's throwing a little bit of weight here. See what he can make go away right across the top there.
That red touch coming. Shot says.
So blue lying 1, but Muirhead's 3 red stones are second, third, and fourth, fighting on the backside there. A little bit of pressure here on Ross Patterson to make sure that his rock gets buried and doesn't set himself up with a double there for Glenn Muirhead to lie 4. So he's got to be really careful with the placement of this stone. Can't afford to be out in the open at all. These are 8-end games. This is just the first of the 8 ends. Again, 5 rock rule in play.
Whoa. Close for line.
A lot of rotation on that stone.
Line's good. Whoa. Mike. Gotta tuck it in.
That rock's still sitting wide open. I don't know if there's going to be a... I think there's an opportunity there to double those out if he chooses, but there's also lots of room.
Almost max room.
So it's all in the finish in those draws. If the draw is even a little bit heavy, the finish comes very late, and the sweepers don't have an opportunity to finish it in those last few feet, which is where it really does its curling. So they would have liked to work on that shot a little bit more to manage it into a little bit better position.
What am I hitting? Can't hit it too thick. Yeah. No, I think I probably can, Kyle. It's pretty thin, like quarter.
I love the bit as if it's...
So because of all the curl here, what he's trying to do, it looks like he's calling the double, and he'll lie 2 or 3 when he's done. And even if Patterson, can draw around, everything's pretty much wide open the way this ice is curling up on draws, so he could play just a tap to get his 2. But first he has to make this shot, which looks like a slash double.
Cammy.
Sweepers aren't touching it. Oh, my goodness.
Not quite out of the house, but so close. Lot of finish at the very end of that shot.
Jams on the side as well. Leaves him just lying 1.
That's what I'm asking. Do we come around or do we play this to the 4? Have I? That's the question.
And if it's there, we can do here. Yeah.
So Patterson looking at the come around right now. Again, placement is everything. He does not want to leave him because Muirhead is lying 1 currently.
On nails, not right in the wood.
Now we do know from World Curling Play, the probabilities would show that the team that has the hammer in the first end wins 73% of their games.
Wow.
On the tour. However, thanks to Ian Tetley, I have a number for this event, and 54% of the teams here have, the team that has won the hammer in the first end have won the game. A little lower than tour norms.
Whoa.
So he's fully buried that rock. It's almost, I don't know if Muirhead wants to try coming in the other side. It almost has come out the other side, just a pinch. Or is he going to be happy? It looks like he's putting the broom down to be happy just to draw for his single instead of trying something. They haven't played a rock down that other side in this game, so they're not really sure. So they're going to settle with the single point and just draw for the 1.
Same way as Same weight as my draw down there. Is it? Okay.
Aye, that was probably just 2 feet less than the last one, was it? Same weight. Okay.
Just draw for the button.
I thought so. Thanks, Dave.
Fair quicker than my draw down here.
So you don't hear them calling numbers. There's no times there. They just asked if there's a fair quicker than his draw for the single point, or his draw for the fake draw for the hammer in the practice.
I like that conversation without using the times, just the feel and the communication between the players.
This line looks a little bit on the tight side here, but the sweepers aren't sweeping it for weight at all.
Then. Cammy.
Starting to come in now. It's starting to break. It looks like...
Cammy. Get on the button.
Sweeping it perfectly without need of backing. And a little bump there. Single point for Muirhead in this first end here at the Ashley Home Store Scottish National Championship. Glenn Muirhead leading 1-0 over Ross Patterson, former teammates up against each other here in Penticton at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic. $16,000 on the line for first place.
So as I mentioned, this has quickly become a very popular stop on the tour for the curling competitors in Canada. It's a great event with a real club feel. The slams are wonderful events, but this is just at a curling club run by local volunteers, and the local curling club manager, Kathy Jones, who was just a firecracker of a manager. She has made some amazing things happen here in Penticton for this local club. They do some pretty special things here in Penticton at this event, and one of them is treat the players with just the VIP treatment. Every time the curlers have come off the ice, every game that they've played this week, they've been met with enthusiastic applause by the spectators. Win or lose, they come off and they have a round of applause, and even if they've lost a tough game, they can't help but crack a smile because the local people are just being so great. After each draw, they do a big presentation for the $200 cash that the round robin winner of each game wins. They present a check and take their photo and have a round of applause. It's just those little things that make this bonspiel stand out a little bit on the tour.
Fine.
Cammy Smith throwing this first guard in the second end with Muirhead up 1-0, using the hammer to get his single point. Muirhead finishing with a perfect 5-0 record and then winning the quarterfinal and the semifinal. In the quarterfinal, they beat Charlie Thomas 3-0.
Just Kyle.
3-0, Elaine.
In the first
quarterfinal, and then in the semifinal, they beat
Kyle.
Matt Dunstone.
Line's good.
And
Line's
over
good
on the
now.
quarterfinal, it was Ross Patterson beating Reed Carruthers 7-5, and then Jason Gunlison 9-6.
And I think it might have been more than 3-0.
That's all I got off
that was the scoreboard
version.
ranking, but I believe there was some more score, and then they maybe shook hands.
It's possible. Well, we were talking earlier about a nothing scoreboard, Elaine.
Yeah.
There was a 1-0 game actually scored here in Penticton.
Yeah, yesterday, Sean Gill of British Columbia played against Gunlison, and, or was it? I think it was that, and there was 7 blank ends, and then final score of 1-0.
I thought the days of 1-0 games were over.
Yeah, there was a lot of social media jokes about that for sure, but Jason Gunlison with a last rock 8th end draw to the forefoot for 1 point. And a 1-0 finish in this tour event with 5-rock rule. Pretty rare. We had a call out to see if we could find out if that has happened on a tour event in recent years. If you know, tweet us.
That's a shout out to Jerry Gertz, the Curling Zone, and Jerry, if you've got any record of a 1-0 game with the 5-rock rule, we sure love to hear about it. And
easy then.
my last real tight game that I remember a game of meaning anything
Kyle.
was Pat Ryan
Line's good.
at the
Line.
Briar defeating Rick Folk 2-1.
Line's good.
And then we had the 3 rock rule.
Line's good. Kyle now, Kyle now.
And then the 4,
Kyle
and now the 5.
Can't harm it. Can't harm it. Stuck her right in. Go on.
So we do have 2 Scottish teams here in our championship final, but we did have some Canadian teams do very well at this event. Team Matt Dunstone, Team Jason Gunlison, Team Charlie Thomas, Team Kevin Cooey, Team Reed Carruthers, and Team Brendan Botcher, all qualifying into the money round. There's a lot of money on the line here in Penticton. It is one of the largest spiels on the tour outside of the Major Slam events, with a $66,000 purse, much due to the efforts of local curler Matt Tolley, who was also in this bonspiel, but has a real ability to engage the community businesses and find a way for them to feel really involved with the event. $66,000 purse with $18,000 to the winner of this event, or of this game.
Feel that you're here, but I think we've got to dunk. Dunk. Even that's okay.
Lots of guards in play here already. Patterson calling for a hit and roll on that red Muirhead stone, trying to get his deuce set up for this.
I think it should run nice.
So he's looking for a little bit of a roll and separation between the 2 blue stones if he can get it. So out-turn hit here with a control weight. See if they can get a roll behind cover.
Close. Whoa. Yep. Whoa. Whoa. Carl. Whoa. Yep. Hard. Hard. Whoa. Yep. 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 Whoa. Whoa.
And there's that roll he was looking for. Beautiful
Nice
roll.
weight. It's a hair on, but good.
Well called,
Nice
well
roll.
swept, well managed, and well thrown. You like to be able to have a chance to sweep that rock a little bit at the end rather than just walk it down and hope that it curls and finishes. You know, to have taken the correct ice and thrown the right weight, to be able to sweep it a little bit to get the exact roll is the best way to make those kind of shots. And we know that the hit and roll is not the easiest shot in curling. It's one of the least made shots. So the more you can find a way to control those shots by finding the perfect weight and line combination, the better. So something for those armchair curlers to take out and take to practice.
That's Thomas Muirhead, second stones, throwing this run back. Nice little run back. He was hoping to stick it. Thomas is Glenn and Eve's brother. Glenn the skip, Thomas the second. And then on the other half of that team, third and lead is the Smith brothers with Cammy and Kyle. Playing against former teammates on the Patterson rink.
Okay.
Patterson looking at using that corner guard again.
Yeah, here. Is that what we like? Yeah.
We joke about this being the Scottish national final, but I think Bruce Mowat would have something to say about that.
Yeah, he'd like to be in it, that's for sure, if it was, and would deserve to be. However, he was off winning his own little event last week.
His own little European championship. Here we are at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic. This is the second end, and we're into we're throwing the last of the second stones here. Glenn Muirhead leading this game 1-0. Patterson having Ross Patterson having the hammer. We got Glasgow versus Perth.
Perth.
Get it past it.
Perth.
Perth.
As far as you can. As far as you can.
Thanks, Kate.
Okay.
That one looks a little deep.
Perth, and once you've been to Perth, you never forget it. It's a lovely place.
So that's just a pinch deep, and it looks like Glenn's looking at taking advantage of that.
Yeah, it's a game of inches, and slipping a little deep there was definitely a mistake. If you're behind that corner guard up in the top half of the house, it's so much easier to keep the control of this end as it is now. That shot is going to be either gone or there'll be a red rock frozen up against it. And by doing that, they take
Should have
that
room, boys.
second shot on the
Easy.
side of the 12-foot out of play as well.
Sweepers want to go on this
T-line.
one. Skipper's calling lots of room.
Oh. Line's good.
Sweepers are taking it. They're carrying it the whole way. Looks like if they can get this thing down there, the
Real
line
nice
is
line.
absolutely perfect. If they can get it to the
Easy.
T-line, they're going to be in great shape.
Thomas, lock it on.
A little bit of a
Lock it
curl
on.
here, and he's trying to lock that thing on. And look at that. What a terrific
Real nice,
shot
Kyle.
Yeah, again, that
by
was
Kyle Smith.
a really, really good demonstration of
here,
how
don't
to
we?
manage a curling shot. There was the amount of weight and line that
this
was,
way.
And
they
he's
were
trying
able to
lock that
manipulate
thing
it to
on,
the
and
perfect
look at
spot
that. What a
by
terrific
Real nice,
shot.
Kyle.
Okay,
now managing again, that that
Like
shot
Kyle.
often on the
Giving-
sweep.
giving Tom
Manage
Kia.
the curl, manage the weight to just lock that
Yeah.
on there. If you overthrow that a little, if you underthrow that a little bit, you just have to sweep for the weight and basically disregard the line. So that was a perfect throw for that shot and very
Never.
nicely managed.
Close. Mate. Hard, mate.
Coming down looking for a
Hard,
little bit
mate.
of a bump here.
Gotta go. Gotta
And
go
they're
hard.
asking for curl.
Whoa,
That's
whoa.
why you'll
Yep.
see him
Yeah,
sleeping
mate.
on the
Yeah, mate. Hard, mate.
side there, trying to get it to curl a bit.
Okay.
That's
Not bad.
a good shot, not a great shot, because he's rolled open and put some separation in
13
there.
I think they really wanted to stay right on top of that red rock to make it a
weight do
little
you
bit
like
easier to
throwing?
deal with. They did want to unlock the back one, which they did, but it would have been
barrier
more of
then.
a problem if they had left it more on top of that red rock.
It's not a disaster. Nose is. It's just leaving him. It's just leaving him the same shot. Well, it's side by side, and if they kick it high into this, it's just coming back into this rock here. So, just this.
So looking for a
Well,
little
we can
hit
go
roll
right
behind
over.
the cover to
Barrier.
Y2. He has to be a little bit careful here, because if he gets the roll, he might also jam it on that back blue one and leave this stone in play.
Oh, Thomas. Hard. Kami.
And he got what he didn't want, and that was right on the nose. He was hoping for a little roll either side, but he didn't quite get it.
They might have been able to change the call a little bit earlier on that one when they saw that it wasn't curling. A little roll towards the red one would have been a little better.
They're quite very sensitive light, you know, just a wee, and then it's like.
I mean, that's penalty. Even his nose terrible.
Pretty sure if they catch,
Like him.
catch that leg,
I know.
it's just sticking there.
If he's a hair, aye. But then if he plays inside, ours is going here. You know what I mean? Hair high. Okay. On the out turn.
So it looks like he's asking Kyle Waddell to, third Kyle Waddell to try and
Okay.
make a little bit of a,
So you're throwing hack or dead hack.
there you go,
was kinda-
hack weight,
Wanting to play hack at that, but
and just get a roll.
aye, but I didn't really want to play the out turn on it, and there wasn't really the room on the in turn, was there?
Yep.
There probably was room, to be honest.
And there it
wasn't
goes,
Whoa.
it's starting to take off.
Yeah! Hard,
Keeper's
Chipper!
trying to hold it.
Hard! Hard! Hard!
And the little flop. Oh. But Muirhead still laying one.
Yeah, so Jock, I think it started to break a little bit before they
I gave Cammy,
caught it. They were a little
What did I
slow
give
on that
Cammy?
call on that.
I think I gave Cammy
You know,
there.
maybe we can see it a little bit more clearly being above, being able to see it from above, but you could see quite a break on that shot, and a few seconds later they started to sweep it. So
I know we had to go out.
We were
it's a
talking about
fine
that.
line on those lines.
Talking about that in the semi-final, that if you don't anticipate that break point and get
But
on
for
that
full
rock
stone-
before the break point, you've
We
lost
can't
it. It
wreck.
breaks so hard.
That's-
And I think you're right there. He
We
didn't,
can't wreck,
they
even
didn't
if we're fully
quite
open
get
late
that
too.
break point
That's
in
fine.
time.
I thought we should do that.
Middle.
No, I thought it was the middle for me. Should have a wee second extra to laugh at him.
What are you thinking for weight down here? Really? They've had their draws down here, but this is slightly wider.
So lying, happy to lie too. He's Glenn Muirhead's playing the come around on the outside, on the opposite side of his other red stone, which is quite nicely buried. Really, all he's hoping for is a force.
Thomas, switch and just go hard.
With a 1-0 lead, he's trying to lie two here and force Ross Patterson to draw. Oh, it looks like he's come out substantially light. Not sure if that picked or whether it was.
Yeah, it's hard to say. You know, sometimes when you leave one side of the ice unplayed for an end or two, or even for minutes, frost can build up, and it can be a bit surprising.
A little bit of frustration in Glenn Muirhead. He's said it's 20 feet different.
Yeah, that was a long, missed by a long distance.
So obviously a little bit of frost going out there, especially with only two teams out there, one game going. You've got 8 bodies trying to keep, and a cameraman trying to keep that ice warm out there, and it's really not happening. When they're used to having, you know, 6 sheets going and some volunteers.
Yeah, those little things that these curlers at this level of play have to stay on top of, observing everything that's going on out there when the ice has been left for a while, watching the lines, watching how many rocks have been down each side, noticing what kind of things happen as fewer teams are out there, and you just learn those things by the experience of having been in these games and in these events.
Ross Patterson throwing his first skip stone. He's got the hammer here in the second end, trailing 1-0 over Glenn Muirhead. Patterson just trying to chisel in his blue stone and see if he can't be lying two when he's done. And he has not made contact with the top. He's got the back one. So it gives another opportunity for Glenn Muirhead to make up for that missed shot.
I'm not a huge fan of going away out with that out turn again, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, and you can hear they're a little reluctant to go back out to that no man's land, and it would even be wider now having to go around that long guard.
You got to wonder if he's not also thinking as the the game goes on, I don't want to get used to draw weight out their wings. I want to have my draw weight in my back pocket.
You can go all the way back there, and it's good.
Well, yeah, it's not ideal. Right, so tapping this.
Looks like a little tap is being called.
Yeah, so he's going to play the most playable shot.
We were pretty much here
or the most makeable shot, what he feels to be the easiest shot at this moment.
This is a shot for sweepers, I think. You know what?
Yeah, so if we go there and I throw like T-line, back 4. I mean, I should be pretty close to my weight. It's about getting the ice right.
So every play these curlers call, they want to play the highest probability shot with the least amount of risk. Whenever they increase the difficulty, the percentage of the shot execution goes down, and every time it becomes a little bit more complicated. So this is not just a weight shot as an open draw would be. It's a tap, so there's a line call and a weight call here.
That's a fair bit of ice he's calling on this one, especially since he's wanting to throw, he probably wants to get this thing into the 4 foot, so he's got to have, T-line or a little bit better weight, maybe back 4 weight to make this tap. Fair bit of ice there. Sweepers are just keeping it clean. It's not coming up. There it starts to break now. He's got a fair distance to go still. He's got there it comes. And he's put it behind that long guard, so
a bit heavy, yeah.
He really hasn't left Ross Patterson much of anything. Ross trailing the game 1-0 here in the second end, but this is the hammer, so looks like he's just going to draw down. draw down and get his single point and be happy with that.
I think that rock was just simply overthrown. It is a tendency to throw a little bit more weight rather than a little bit less weight on a shot like that. You know, you want to throw it to the sweepers, but you know you have to move that rock, and I think he just overthrew it by a few feet.
That was far too heavy. Far too heavy.
Yeah, he's still telling himself it was far too heavy.
But again, there's got to be some frustration after coming up 20 feet short in his first draw. His second one, he throws a bullet, and, but is fortunate to be able to use that angle. Patterson sweepers are not touching. That's Duncan Menzies and Michael Goodfellow, and they're not touching. Oh, we got a little bit of a clean going on. That's going to make the skipper feel better. A little bit of a clean happening.
Yeah, it looks like a good draw.
And it looks like it's going to finish just in the back button. That's a great shot. And that ties this game up here at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic in Penticton. It's all tied up at 1. We're going into end number 3 with Glenn Muirhead having the hammer over top of Ross Paterson. I'm Jock Tyre. This is Elaine Dag-Jackson sitting beside me.
Yeah, we're happy to be hosting this game here at the Penticton Curling Club. It's been a great week of curling here in Penticton.
Elaine, let's talk a little bit about the round robin play. 5-0 for Glenn Muirhead. He had a fairly tough path to get here. He went undefeated. The Tardy rink, world champions in the junior. He beat them 9-3. Then he goes up against Dangerfield. Neil Dangerfield, another BC rink, 6-4. He takes them out. And then he goes against the Chinese team, the Zhu, Kwai Zhu, 6-5. Very tight game there. And then it was a battle, an epic battle against Kevin Cooey. Kevin Cooey had a double to win the game and just misses that double by millimeters and loses that game to Muirhead 6-4. And then rounding it out to Kirk Myers from Saskatchewan. He beat Kirk. And again, that one went right down to last rock final, being 8-5 on that. And so not an easy path, and some pretty well-known teams. It was for Glenn Muirhead.
Some big teams here at this event, as there were last year. So many great games this week. This event was sold out for viewers here in the building. They sold all of the passes that were available. It was a full house, every draw, and the local community was able to see some really great curling games, of which they really showed their appreciation in so many ways, supporting the curlers and befriending them. And it's always nice when those guys come upstairs and have a beer after the game and rub elbows with the local sponsors and volunteers. And the volunteers have had a really good feeling back from the curlers. They have the feeling that the curlers like this bonspiel and they'll be back. But there were so many great games to watch this week at this event.
Over with Glasgow's Ross Patterson rink, the other team we're watching out here, they finished out the round robin at 4-1. Their first game was up against Brock Virtue. That was an 8-2 game, but then they got a little bit of an easy game. Not too easy, but they were playing Cody Tanaka, BC's own Cody Tanaka. They took that one 7-0. And then it was Josh Berry, a 10-3 win over them, and then a really hotly contested against John Epping's rink, and it was a 4-3 win. But they rounded out the round robin with a loss, a 8-1 loss to Charlie Thomas. So that had to be a little unsettling going into the playoffs with a big loss there, but managed to pull up big, beating Reed Carruthers 7-5 and Jason Gunlison 9-6 in the semifinal.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned Cody Tanaka team here at this event, minus Cody Tanaka, who was off at the Canadian Travelers Curling Championship, where a club level team is allowed to have one competitive curler on the team, and they won it. Cody Tanaka won that Travelers Championship.
That's the second time in 2 years, is it not, for the BC rink at the...
It is. We had our friend Bart Sawyer win that championship last year. Bart from Vancouver Island.
Kelowna was fortunate enough 3 years ago to host that event, and so it is absolutely a spectacular event for club curlers. You should get involved in the Travelers. It's just an awesome event to participate, even if it's just making it through the zones. The clubs, the regionals, and then provincials is a fantastic event put on down on the Lower Mainland, and people have a great time competing against skilled teams at their own level.
So here we see a typical start to the 5-rock rule end.
That blue rock, the second stone, a little bit deep. I was hoping they were, I think, hoping for top 4 instead they end up in back 4. Not exactly the positioning that Ross Patterson was hoping for.
Yeah, that blue rock going to the back 12 foot, it just really takes the pressure off the opposition who's trying to score 2. You know, to have that rock go behind the tee line, way to the back 12 foot, it just leaves an awful lot of scoring area which you're hoping to close down, and the goal would be that you would be trying to force Team Muirhead to have to deal with that shot rock at some point during the event. So during the end, so you want it to be a little bit more perfect than that top 4 foot, full 8 foot for sure.
This rock's hanging a little bit. He hasn't got any contact yet with that rock, and he was hoping to freeze to it, so they're going to come around it. The call is to kind of bring it back a bit, but no freeze there, and it looks like it's half open. Half open for Thomas Muirhead.
I'm thinking back ring and just bump it through and roll in here.
Duncan Menzies just a shade deep on that one.
Just dead hack back line.
I feel like I don't feel like it's the Scottish national lane. I feel a little more like it's the Manitoba provincials with all the tuck deliveries I'm watching out here.
True enough, and the young guys too. We don't see that a lot in Canada.
You gotta go harder.
They're sweeping for direction here, trying to get a piece of that rock, and they have got a small piece, and it just slides out the side.
Yeah, that you might wonder why they're sweeping that rock when it needs to curl. They are trying to pull it over towards that rock by directional sweeping it, and the theory is that by pushing your broom on that direction on the ice will encourage the rock to follow down that line. And it did a little bit more, and it would have rolled onto that back blue rock at the back of the 12 foot, but a little bit of a miss there. Those 2 blue rocks are still in play. They're not shot, but they're still a factor in this end.
So the competitive curlers, Elaine, they're using a different kind of broom head than most of your club curlers. What's the difference on those broom heads?
I'm easy with either.
Well, a couple of years ago, I think you remember where there was a lot of controversy and discussion about the types of fabric or the types of inserts that were underneath on the fabric or underneath the fabric, and the World Curling Federation's leadership led a study to determine what would be the best, most equal type of instrument to use worldwide in competitive play to create an even playing field, and so that it wouldn't be a huge effort to monitor every single type of brush. So they decided to go with a universal fabric, a type of fabric that they had years of supply of. This, we call it the mustard yellow pad head cover, and it's still, as you can see, very effective, but not abrasive like the types of fabric we saw for a few years. Now it's based more on the skill of the sweeper, where everybody's got the same type of fabric head, and it's the strength and the technique and the ability to play game after game, shot after shot, play more of a factor. So you can train to be a great sweeper.
Yep, for line. Hard for line.
So again, calling, that's the directional. Again, directional sweeping, but the sweepers are letting their skip know that it's not heavy enough to get back to that stone, but maybe they've changed their mind. They can go back there.
Either the freeze or the bump, decide.
There we go. And they have got it back there, and they're lying 2.
So the skip always wants to hear that weight call as early as possible and as accurately as possible, because that call changes with every foot of difference in weight. They need to know if that rock is coming back to that rock or if it is going to finish in front of it, because the angle is important, the depth of where it finishes is important. So it is difficult to judge, Jock, isn't it? Like it takes a real skill to be able to develop that judgment for weight control, where you can tell 2 or 4 feet difference in where a rock is going to come to rest or where you can sweep
Yeah.
to get that rock to. It's a huge skill, but even the curlers at this level make a mistake, and if it's off by a foot or 2, then it can be a critical mistake.
Especially when you're dealing with passes. We saw in the last end with Glenn's rock coming up 20 feet short because of a different path. Your sweepers have to be on top of that. They've got to be watching for break points. They're all over that, and it's such a hard job being a really good sweeper, especially communicating that to the skip while you're sweeping. Oh, and he's papered that rock.
Go, mate.
Papered that rock, and it's come out the other side. So they made the tap that they wanted, but they've unfortunately scored it out the outside here. Look at it get by that guard. There is no room at all. Those sweepers did an awesome job, but the important part was there at the back.
Just leaves him
Because it overcurled, it really left an opportunity here.
Aye.
It left an opportunity here for Glenn Muirhead
Halfway down, I thought we were okay.
to protect that rock that shot at the back.
Yeah, and it is shot rock, so they do have to deal with it, even though it is behind the tee line.
Don't mind it.
If they want to bring one of those red rocks in to a potential scoring position, they do
No,
have to.
You just put it past this. You're probably half stone to
This is another
spin it
good
in
call.
half to catch on here.
So he's lying second and third. He just wants to open it up a bit. And here's where we see that peel weight come in.
Yep.
And he's telling Ross Patterson, here you go. What are you going to do with it? You're shot rock, but we're second and third. This is an 8-end game here at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic. I'm Jock Tyre. I'm sitting here with the privilege of having Elaine Dag-Jackson, women's national coach for Canada, sitting right beside me. It's a tied-up game playing the third end. Ross Patterson not having the hammer,
You like going for the nose at peel?
as both teams were forced in the first and second, and so Glenn Muirhead has the hammer here in the third end at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic.
Well, yeah, if you're a head high, then you play the short one.
Very active in the curling community are the Marion and Dennis Case, who own Ashley Home Stores. And they opened the most recent store was the one here in Penticton. They moved down to support that store a couple years ago and have got this event. They also have stores in Kelowna and Vernon. And rumor has it that they're looking at opening another store up in Salmon Arm.
Yeah, no July too, but it's getting...
So if you're in Salmon Arm, keep your eyes open. I actually,
Your first
Elaine,
call was to try and get this.
my dining room furniture, which you and I have sat discussed curling at, is from Ashley Home Stores.
Yes, and a fine dining room set it is. So Team Patterson just talking over what shot they want to play here. As you say, they're worried about the 2 red rock. Not worried, they're concerned that they have left 2 opposition rocks in play. They would prefer to be in a force situation here.
So they've made a big decision here. This is a defense versus offense situation.
Whoa. Yep. Whoa.
They're going to try and get rid of at least one.
Oh, you.
So close.
Little bit of disappointment there in the thrower,
Good throw.
Kyle Waddell. He was really thinking he had that double on there.
Oh,
That was an awful long, tough double, though.
that was me.
That's nice.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but if he doesn't get it right though, Kyle, if we do anything else, then it's a simple bang, isn't it?
As I was saying before, Kyle Waddell actually played with Kyle Smith, Thomas Muirhead, and Cammy Smith last season. And then this year, Glenn Muirhead moved over to that rink, and Kyle moved in with Ross Patterson's rink of Duncan Menzies and Michael Goodfellow. So these guys know each other really well.
As do their coaches, who are sitting side by side here beside us.
Just the same line as before, guys.
Ian Ian Tudley, the coach for
Line's real nice.
Ross Patterson rink, played second for Al Hackner when Al won the Worlds. Back in what
Where are
decade
we?
was that? I'm trying to remember, Elaine. Was
Looks
that
big like.
Oh,
in the 80s?
we remember. Yeah, in the 80s.
And Al Hackner, the coach here today for Glen Muirhead's rink.
I think
So
they're both happy to be sitting here playing against each other.
So looking at the lineup there, you got to be thinking that Ross Patterson, looking at those angles, see if he can double out those reds and lie a couple when he's done. Angles are really tight.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to be very precise with the shot. And again, this I don't know that he has to throw a big weight shot on this one. We're finding that a lot of the teams are throwing a little more control weight because the big weight just doesn't have it takes the sweepers out of the equation. I was just looking up at that scoreboard seeing Edward Jones, and that just reminded me of Matt Tolley, president here at the Penticton Curling Club, big supporter of curling, curler himself, and also he helped start this event, make this thing happen.
For sure, Matt was a big reason that the community believed that they could do it. Kathy Jones, the manager here, is a real make-it-happen person, and with Matt's guidance of being a competitive curler and highlighting some of the things that are important to host a great spiel, it was a dynamic duo along with Cy and some of the other wonderful volunteers here.
Ross Patterson going for the drag effect there, angles it, and he jams it on his own instead of taking out the red. I think he, Elaine, I'm going to throw a term in there. I think he actually believed that drag effect would occur, and it didn't. Or did it? Let's have a look at the replay on there. We didn't get the drag effect that he thought he was going to get.
Yeah, I think they thought there was a chance that that blue one was going to catch that back red one on the way by there. You know, another option would have been to play the nose hit on that shot and stay right on top of it.
Yeah.
Making it something that Muirhead had to deal with, but
Is that the same line as the corner guard ones, or is that slightly wider? Fuck, even if we're high, we can just. Yeah, I guess so.
Glen Muirhead opting to draw down to the side. I think he wants to make sure that there's no double there. They can't take out both his red stones. See if he can get the all-elusive deuce in this end with him having the hammer and tied up at one. And maybe make it, see if he can corner that blue one a little bit and see if he can try and trick them into trying something that gives him a chance for his three.
so the objective here now is to sit the two with the least amount of risk, so making it as difficult as possible.
Initial call is there's lots of weight by itself. It's all about the line now. He needs to get a little bit of corner in that blue one, it sounds like.
Put it on it, boys. Yep.
All by itself. A beautiful shot. Line two.
It's worth having a go in it.
Yeah, so there was some decision making on that sweep line call. I think they wouldn't have minded if it went down a little closer to that blue rock, but the sweepers knew that if they kept sweeping it, it would keep curling, and the number one. Okay. Good point, Jock.
I'm just looking at it. If they're talking about the slash double right now, and there's an opportunity if they don't catch enough of it, it'll slash it into their own blue, and it might give an opportunity for Muirhead to get the three that he was looking for. So you can see right now they're actually very tempted to play that slash double because they just missed it last time.
Good point. Just listen.
This will be straight.
This is a lot of pressure, I think, right now on Kyle Waddell. It's all about his line call right here. It's all line.
Yeah, all the line caller wants is a nice clean release that's easy to read.
A little off the back of the handle there when he threw it.
Whoa!
And he's got very little of it. Oh, and he makes the double. What a terrific shot. Wow. What a great shot by Ross. Here we see it on the replay. He just slices that rock across, catches the red one out the side door. He's lying 2. Muirhead's got a draw for 1 against 2.
And the fans here are loving that shot. We got to see a replay here, and it was a really great shot. They're really appreciative crowd here at Penticton Curling Club.
This is the line, remember, first end.
What a terrific shot. So Glenn Muirhead going without the backing here.
Well,
He's choosing just a free draw down a path he knows. He thinks it might be a discussion, says he's a little concerned about the weight call. Sweepers are on it right away. He's got to get full 12 foot to beat out both those stones.
But it's a fast line, boys.
Yeah, there's Skip's calling it.
I think they're just cleaning it down there. It looks pretty good.
And it looks like they're going to put it pretty much on the button right there.
Very nice draw for 1.
Back button. Glenn Muirhead takes a 2-1 lead here in the third end of the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic. It's an 8-end game, 5 rock rule. Ross Patterson with the hammer now, but trailing Glenn Muirhead 2-1.
So it's interesting to see how these teams have these little team meetings between the ends. They take a few seconds to connect with each other, talk about ice conditions, what they saw in the last end, and maybe any adjustment that they want to make in the next end. Also, they have an opportunity to talk about where they want the first rock to go. So it's a real advantage to not be on a time clock where you have to go right away, and they are taking the luxury of taking those few moments to connect, get on the same page, you know, look each other in the eye and know that they're supporting each other, and transfer of information so that everybody is on the same page. It's a great thing for those teams to do. Here we are in Penticton. Just this past season in 2018, the Penticton curling community hosted the 2018 Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Right next door in the event center here in Penticton, a beautiful little community of event buildings right in the same neighborhood here, all in a big circle. It's a beautiful little complex. The 2018 Scotties was a huge event here that Team Jennifer Jones was able to win that event and go on and win for Canada at the World Championship in North Bay, Ontario. So between the 2018 Scotties and last year's and this year's Ashley's Home Store Curling Classic, there's been a lot of curling here in this community and a great community support as well. And I hear from the local curling community that there's been 2,500 hours of volunteer time recorded in this community of curling, not including the Scotties and the World Curling Tour. So just a really vibrant little curling community here in Penticton. There's a lot of curling options here in Penticton in the South Okanagan. If you're interested in trying curling, just go on their website, Penticton Curling Club. You'll see some different ways to get involved. There's Learn to Curl clinics, and you can always phone Kathy Jones down here at the Penticton Curling Club. And we remember with fondness last February when we were here for the Scottie. It was a wonderful event, hosted just as nicely as this Ashley's Home Curling Classic.
Thomas, go.
And money raised from that Scotties and from the World Curling Tour event enabled the club to really step up in some of their building renovations and building updates. You know, these aging buildings have repairs that need to be done, and they were able to raise $100,000 in the local
Even if you
community
don't
for
know line, it's okay.
during that Scotties.
Yeah.
We're able to apply for a government
We like
grant
to
and
make
matching
barrier.
funds, and I'll have all brand
You
new
might use
plant
this one
equipment,
back here.
which is just exceedingly important in the maintenance
Sorry.
of this building and in the health of the local
Yeah.
curling
You might end up
community.
jamming it.
That's a big shout out to BC Gaming, who do provide
Aye, that maybe
opportunities
just added a wee bit
through
of weight,
Capital
can't it?
Gaming,
Hey,
as
Barrio.
well as helping with programming for juniors, seniors, disability, to make these curling clubs function. So BC Gaming doing a terrific job in all communities in British Columbia and supporting curling clubs. So we got
Whoa.
a guard that went a
Step
little
up.
bit deep, giving Ross Patterson a chance
Gotta
to
go.
clean up a little bit here.
Gotta go hard. 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 Whoa, whoa, whoa. And in,
Michael
and in, and in.
Goodfellow trying to play the run back double, but ends up just killing the one guard and
throw.
rolling behind cover, but he's still biting the rings there. So that is something that
Hack weight.
Glenn Muirhead has to pay attention to, and he's looking at it now going, okay, well, I don't like that rock there.
Good, mate.
So this has been a great game so
Thomas-
far. There's been quite a few rocks in play, but we're still looking at a really conservative scoreboard. There's been a few opportunities for the team with hammer to get the deuce, but they have not been able to carry it through to the end of the end so far.
You know, Elaine, looking over at, we watched both semifinals. We were doing the commentary mostly on the Muirhead game, but Ross Patterson's game in the semifinal against Jason Gunlisson had a
Where's the
lot
same
more
one?
rocks in play. This is more kind of
Right body or still?
a Glenn Muirhead style of play with a lot
Body
less
up.
guards. So I don't know if this is advantage
I gave
Muirhead or
Mike
not,
there and he was
but
formed.
Muirhead just
Like,
seems to
that's
be
good.
getting his style of play into this versus Patterson, who was a lot more rocks in play in his win this afternoon or this morning.
Yeah, and we just watched that game from the side a little bit as we were focusing on the other semifinal, but knowing that they were playing a team who does like a lot of rocks in play, we're not
Close.
certain which team was the one that was promoting
Close.
the rocks in play, but there
Down.
were a lot of large
Hard
scores.
down.
There were a couple of
Hard.
threes scored, a couple of
Hard.
twos scored,
Whoa, 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 whoa. Mate,
and
that-
a lot of finesse shots.
And that
Angle, angle,
1-4,
angle,
which was
angle.
kind of the nail in the coffin for Jason Gunlisson, was that
I
4
like
they
the
gave up.
nose now.
With a valiant effort at a comeback.
Oh, beautiful comeback.
Very close.
Hack
This
weight.
is a more traditional
same
game
throws
of
should
what
be
we
good.
see these days in this era of 5-rock rule and managing the scoreboard and knowing the probabilities of what has to happen. And because this game is so close, I think we're seeing that neither team really needs to go out on a limb too much here. They're
Just let
looking
her-
for a reasonable
bigger
chance
line.
to score 2. Nobody's
Can't
trying
give
to
it a wee-
steal.
Whoa,
So
whoa.
that's pretty interesting,
No, we're
and
okay.
I think if we see anybody pulling out a little bit, we will
we're
see
fine.
they play to get a little bit more complicated because someone will need to take on more of a risk in order to generate some points.
The 5 rocks rule
Yeah.
is new this year to World Curling. It's not new to the World Curling Tour, but the World Curling Federation,
my
the
thing, you
Canadian,
could, yeah.
or Curling Canada, it's a new rule for them. So a lot of the fans don't know what the 5 rock rule is. Elaine, can you explain a
Exactly.
little bit for the fans what the 5 rock rule is exactly?
Well, I really liked the poster that I saw in the local curling club that said the 5-rock rule is the same as the 4-rock rule with one more rock.
I think that's a fair.
That was posted in many clubs I've been at this fall. So that means that no rocks in the free guard zone of the opposition color may be removed until after the 5th rock of the end.
And over, mate.
What a big roll that is across.
Okay.
A huge weight.
That's fine.
Makes contact with both stones, but only removes one of them. So the free guard zone is defined as the tee line to the hog line, excluding the rings. That's the free guard zone. And so until the 6th rock is thrown, you're not allowed to remove any opposition stones in that free guard zone. So it's you're into second stones before. So it's kind of changed it up a little bit. Your seconds are throwing a little more precise shots instead of throwing hits. They now have to have that ability to throw draws.
Yeah,
Right
that,
off.
that 5th rock of the end has been a huge factor. It's a real opportunity for teams to generate a little offense, and it's a real additional skill for the seconds, the expert seconds, those players that are tradesman seconds.
Yeah.
Their skills have expanded a little bit more finesse required, and a little bit more
You like that,
perfection required in some of the positional shots that they need to play. A lot of setup shots being played with that fifth rock of the end.
Hip. Whoa. Hip.
Kyle
Whoa.
Liddell looking for the double here,
Hip. Hard. Whoa, whoa.
and he
Good.
makes it. So we got one corner guard in play for Ross Patterson.
Barrier.
Glenn Muirhead trying to make the hit and roll away from that corner guard so that Patterson cannot use it to try and score his deuce.
And the call is for barrier, my favorite Scottish weight call.
For those of you that curl in Canada, that would probably be board weight or barrier weight, whichever one you prefer.
Nose. High.
Here we are in the fourth end at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic final.
Decent.
Glenn Muirhead with the lead on the scoreboard 2-1, but not with the hammer.
Very
So
hard to
Ross
leave a double,
Patterson is
to be
a
honest.
little bit of an advantage having the hammer here early in this game, playing the
I'd
fourth
rather
of an
call
8-end game.
that than roll away over
Clean.
here, back tee, and then he hits and
Right
flops
now.
on top.
You're good. Clean.
You know.
You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. Nice throw.
I think so. If we can roll it high that side, would be nice.
So not seeming to go for the roll there. It looks like
I'm thinking throw
they
in.
call the hit and stick. Do you think so?
I think they did call the hit and stick. I'm not sure if he's just going to be happy with a blank here, if that's the way he's looking. We're into skip stones now. Glenn Muirhead is actually looking to roll away from that guard. So I'm thinking both teams might be thinking blank at this point.
Just nose or slightly that side would be ideal.
Right, cut clue.
So these look like easy shots, but they are still precision shots. One rollout or one roll in the wrong direction,
Easy.
and the whole situation will change.
Easy. Hell of a room, boys.
Looking again, he's looking for that little bit of roll away from that corner guard now that we're into skip stones. Ross Patterson doesn't even appear to be looking for that roll at all.
You're 11.5.
It's almost like they've given up on this end. We're just going to have a blank. But as we saw earlier in the semifinal match, Matt Dunstone, that made a bit of a difference in the first end where he was trying to roll out and he stuck it and did not get the blank. And that ended up, I think, in the long run costing him.
As long as we don't miss it.
That's the voice of confidence down there.
Yeah, I love the mics on the players.
He certainly doesn't appear to be wide on this one.
You just think
Yep,
that was
yep.
in-turn pop,
Hard.
in-turn pop, appeal weight.
Hard.
I think he is also looking for a little roll to the outside. Now, the question is, will Glenn try and be a little more aggressive for that roll behind the cover? Or is he going to roll to the center line and make it as difficult as possible for him to blank
we
this
better
end
going
for
over the face.
Ross Patterson?
Nah, because we're just waiting for it to,
Yeah, I thought it was.
What are we doing? It's like third stone, is it? Yep. Maybe a wee hair firmer than my last, eh? It's a big roll, so I think we need a wee bit.
Just need a wee bit firmer.
There you go.
I don't think that's a farmer. I think it's a firmer. He's got board weight or barrier weight.
Thomas!
And very delicately trying to roll behind cover. And he has done it. Look at that, but it's coming out the side. Little too much of a roll, but just hangs on there at the back behind cover.
Oh, that's
a beautiful roll.
That's a great shot. It's
Look
just
at this, as it tucks itself in behind.
The right bit of the ice,
And it grabs right at the end and kind of swings back in there hard. That's made it a little more challenging for Ross Patterson. Exactly what they were looking for.
He may be reflecting back and wishing he may have gone a little harder for that roll himself, but certainly has made it a little bit harder for the blank.
Yeah, Les.
And I think they've got the broom pretty much where they can see that rock. I don't think you can see maybe a third of the stone. A little more than a third, depending on the angle you're at. So it looks like he's put that out a bit, Elaine.
Yeah.
It does not look like it's curling for him.
He did put that out a little bit on release. Will it come back?
Has he got enough of it? He does. Oh my. He could see more than I thought of it, but boy, that was close.
Compensating weight, I think, not a huge weight, so it did have a chance to finish up a little at the end.
So here are with a blank end in the fourth end, and Glenn Muirhead leading 2-1 over Ross Patterson, former teammate Ross Patterson. Patterson goes into the fifth end with the hammer here at the Ashley Homestar Curling Classic. I'm Jock Tyre, sitting beside and privileged to sit beside Elaine Dag-Jackson, national coach for the women's program here at Curling Canada.
Yeah, it's been a great game so far, and Jock and I have had a lot of fun here in Penticton. This is the second year we've had the privilege of being able to host these final two games at this great bonspiel. This is a huge bonspiel in British Columbia. They're playing for $66,000 total purse here in Penticton. The winner of this final game is going to take a check for $18,000.
Is it 18? I thought it was 16.
$16,000.
I can't remember, Elaine. I'm going to leave that to you. I know it's a lot of money.
I better double check.
You could be right. But this is the second year for the Ashley Homestar Curling Classic here in Penticton. Ashley, a great supporter of curling up and down the Okanagan Valley with stores Vernon, Kelowna, Penticton, and rumor has it a new store opening up in Salmon Arm in the near future. And they also support all those curling clubs as well. So if you get an opportunity to stop by, as I said to Elaine, I have loved the service and the quality of product that I get from Marion and Dennis Case, both curlers, both supporters of curling. And thanks to Ashley for supporting curling here in Penticton in this awesome event.
I did mention this morning that I've been eyeing those two bar chairs all week, wishing that I could sit in them, but knowing that I would get the boot. And they're beautiful bar chairs supplied by Ashley Home Store that they brought down for them to enjoy the curling game. So thank you so much to them for their support, along with the many other supporters of this spiel, of which there are many. The Players Lounge downstairs for the athletes was hosted all week by the Penticton Curling Club with the assistance of local community businesses. It was like a little Briar Players Lounge where they had nice furniture and nice food and beverages and smoothies and home-baked goods and soups, and you know, those little extras have made this Penticton Bonspiel a very special event on the tour. The players have been given the VIP treatment all week, and you know what it takes to host a great curling tour event is a great facility, so really great ice conditions, a good purse, like they want to play for some decent money because it costs a lot of money to travel and enter these events, and a great community, great volunteers, and I think that's the difference here in Penticton. As I went along last year after being at this Penticton event, when I travel across Canada at the various events I am privileged to attend on behalf of Curling Canada, the athletes, the male curlers were still talking about this Penticton Bonspiel and what made it special, and those little things are greatly appreciated. They're not necessary, but they're greatly appreciated, and they make the players want to come back.
And if you look at the lineup that's, I know that there's two Scottish teams, but if you look at the lineup of Canadian teams that were in this event. It's a who's who of
Strike
Canadian
15,
curling. Kevin Cooey, John Epping, Brock Virtue,
Brendan Botcher.
Gunlison, Jason Gunlison, who got eliminated.
Dunstone.
Matt Dunstone also eliminated in the semifinal. Just
Charlie Thomas.
some great teams. And then if you want to look BC specific, you got Sean Gill and Jimmy Cotter both were here. You know, just a golden opportunity. And we were talking earlier about the fact that the BC Tour has added so much and so many reasons for teams to stay home and compete. Because now with the BC Tour in both men's and the women's, you got an opportunity to stay home and qualify for provincials at the same time, win some money at the cash fields.
Yeah, it's made a huge difference. I think there's 2 or 3 additional events on the BC Tour this year, and with this new one from last year, all of a sudden the BC teams, if they start winning a few of these events in BC, they have a chance to make their way up the Canadian team ranking system in the order of merit and start to qualify for some of those bigger spiels. So kudos to Curl BC and the people, the volunteers for Curl BC and the staff there that have made the BC Tour more prominent and more important this year and enabled the BC curlers to get a lot more competition.
Elena was actually noted last week in the Red Deer, which both these teams, I believe, were at the Red Deer event. But over on the women's side, 2 teams that we both know really well, the Brett Richards rink and the Corinne Brown, both qualifying A. So it's good to see BC teams making their presence felt by both qualifying A and making it into the money rounds at fairly competitive events.
And having watched many curling games so far this fall, Jock, and many events, I really do attribute that increased level of play of the BC teams to the number of events that they were able to participate in. In advance of going to Red Deer, they had the games in, which has been something that BC Games have had a lot of challenge, being able to find the funds to travel a little bit further to get those events. And now they're in BC, there's no excuse for the teams not to participate in all of those events.
No, I think before Red Deer there were six BC events that they were able to qualify for, or to play in, before Red Deer. Yeah. So here we are in the 5th end after the 4th end was blanked. Glenn Muirhead leading Ross Patterson 2-1, but Patterson has the hammer here in the 5th. Patterson throwing the blue stones and being from Glasgow. Muirhead's rink being the red stones and hailing from Perth. Was that better, Elaine? Perth?
Perth. Yes, you should go there and you will never forget. Lovely place, lovely curling community there.
Gonna go really hard on this.
So they're trying
Maybe we should go do an event there.
I absolutely believe we should.
Come on!
Trying to get some extra curl out of that, but they jam it instead of making the double.
It's the same one, isn't it?
And again, we're dealing with only one guard in play.
12 and a half the last
Neither
time.
team feels particularly confident or trailing that they need to get those extra guards in this 5-rock rule in. We're in the 5th end of an 8-end game here in the final of the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic.
Yeah, then.
So as each end goes by, it becomes more and more important to get the scoreboard advantage, or at least to work yourself into a position where you're making the game as winnable as possible. So if you're 1 up without at this point in the game, during the 5th end in an 8-end game, on the tour, you're winning 77% of the time. So the probability of that scoreboard situation is 77%. And of course, that's not to say you can't win it. When you're not in that position, it's just less likely to happen. So Team Patterson is going to work hard here to get themselves into that scoreboard position where they're 1 up instead of 1 down.
Glenn Muirhead asking Kyle Smith to wrap it around and freeze onto that back blue one. Again, it's behind the tee line, so they're trying to come up to it and put it between those 2 blue stones so that if there is an angle back, it jams it.
Line's perfect. Easy, don't bounce it. Okay.
And he wedges it perfectly in between. Absolutely lovely freeze there, but it is back button.
Good.
And that does make a bit of a difference here. You can see the sweepers have it, and he's asking for no bounce. There's the smallest bump there.
I like it.
And it's fully buried.
Wait.
Button is still open. They're behind the tee line.
As again, that's all important shot, getting those blue ones early behind the tee line, making a difference here.
Go then. Line's good. Line's good. Line. Hard line. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait only. Close. Whoa.
And it's starting to break now.
Whoa.
Look at that weight. It looks near perfect there. He's just going to paper by that guard. He clears it by a couple inches. Now they're trying to get that little extra curl with that sweeper and get that little bump, which they've gotten.
Okay.
So it's pretty good. They would have liked to get just a little bit more curl out of that shot. They wanted it to be a little bit more over the top of that.
The line was bang on.
Ross Patterson lying the 1 and 4, and they think that Glenn Muirhead thinks he can get to the inside of that again and bump that blue one. I think he just wants to bump that blue one back just a shade.
Okay, left then. Thomas. Thomas.
Cammy's sweeping it instead of Thomas. And Eric comes in. He's going to get by the guard very close. And you see if he can get to the nose on that one. He's getting just to the nose and bumping it back.
What a great
shot.
What
a terrific shot. Muirhead comes out lying 2 after that one. It's really close. There's that directional sweeping, trying to get that little extra curl. The weight is down just a shade less than than Patterson's team. And he manages to get that a little inside roll.
And what a privilege to be able to watch these great curling shots. There's some real touch shots going on this end. And
so instead of Cammy cleaning, you're cleaning. So then if we need to sweep, your brush is already on the ice.
Shot. Make it.
So that's a little bit of brotherly love going on back there. Thomas and Glenn, well, no, Glenn is talking to his younger brother, letting him know that he would like the sweeping positions to be a little bit different. And I think the younger of the two is glad he doesn't have a microphone on right now.
Have a quick look, but I think this is probably going here.
Siblings on curling teams. It's great.
We've got 2 brothers.
Love it.
We got Glenn and Thomas Muirhead skip in second. And Kyle Smith and Cammy Smith third and lead. So 2 brothers playing together. There's a lot of love out there on the ice right now. This is there's some really interesting angles out there, Elaine. It's look at that overhead shot.
I think only one thing with that is that he's probably going to have a freeze again, because this one we've got the control of the front of the rings.
Yeah. You like it?
Does this not give us our best? Does this not give us our best chance? What does he do if we go here? Freezes. Let's go in. Let's make it. Like it, Mike. Like it.
What has he decided to play, Jock?
He didn't.
I'm just trying to figure that out. I think he's
May I just give you the edge of rock?
just catching the edge of the rock, and he's hoping that he'll drag it across the lane and rub off the other red one, and maybe be lying 2 when he's finished. So it's a slash, and it's not going to be a double because that rock is not going to leave play the second stone. The first one he's hoping will leave play across the top of the other one.
Not sure what the original thinking.
Got lots of weight.
Whoa, never.
Looks like he may have set that out a wee bit, Elaine. He might catch his own blue at the back. Oh, he's got it just enough.
Wait.
Couldn't catch that any thinner.
There's precision.
It wasn't quite the call. I think he was hoping to catch that red one on the way out the door.
I gave you there.
And if you look, he just misses it.
Blues,
So he caught it just a pinch too thin.
Same way.
That's giving. This is going to give Muirhead an opportunity, and this might be the golden opportunity. If he can put one in there in the pocket, he will cover the pin and make it virtually impossible for Ross Patterson to even score in this end. So this is a huge shot. It's all going to be about the line.
There's quite a pocket there. Nice little perfect pocket to draw down to.
And he obviously doesn't want it to be out in front again, because if he does that, he leaves the exact same slash double and could give up a 2. So he wants to make sure he makes the pocket, I think, this time.
Killed it here. Yeah, hard.
He's down weight. The sweepers are on it quick. The skip called sweeping right away.
Easy.
It looks like it needs some help.
We're back on track. It's just wait now, boys.
He needs to come up a bit more. I don't think he's got the line quite yet. Here it comes.
Right off.
A little bit of a nudge in there. And he's made a beautiful shot. He's lying 2 right now, and he's only left a very small target for Ross Patterson. And he's covered up a piece of the pin.
There's just too much weight for that.
If you look down on the overhead shot when he was letting go of that rock, Glenn really let go quickly because of the hog line coming up.
I put you on for line. Early.
Stay tight.
I was more worried about the line.
Here you can see it.
And once we were back on track,
just gets to the inside just enough, and he's pushed it back, so he's for certain lying 2.
Okay, so back line, I'm thinking, I remember you said one there, like 13 and a half.
I thought my weight would have been
pretty nice.
I thought, well, we could have nosed that. Bloom would have been fine.
What are they
so
talking about,
I
Elaine?
wasn't concerned about being a few feet heavy.
Well, they're talking about what they could have done, which is not the right thing to be talking about in the.
I think that's Muirhead's call there. That what they're talking about there. I'm just wondering what Patterson's rink's talking. I'm not. Is it just a come around to try and get it?
No, I think they're tapping back the blue rock. Yeah, I think they're tapping the blue rock. Maybe not. There's a lot of ice.
I don't think they have their mics on. Here we go.
Right to the hot. Whoa! Close. Hard, Duncan.
Trying to get it to curl. Duncan.
Hard! Hard!
Duncan Menzies pushing it hard, trying to get the angle right, and he does it. But does he get shot out of it? It is
does not.
So close. Oh my goodness. I don't know how you call that one. Kyle Smith is indicating right away that it's a red stone.
Well, it depends if the overhead camera is accurate.
And look at that little bump. What a perfect weight. But did it spill off? My goodness, that's close. I think you're right. I think it might be a red stone.
If we can just get here, then we might. In fact, I'm not just sure why it does, to be honest.
That scoring zone is getting mighty small.
Kyle Smith convinced that it's a red stone, so giving Glenn Muirhead with his last stone an opportunity to come in here and try and lie 2 and take absolutely everything away from. Anyway, I'm just trying to see if it will curl quite enough to get over there and bump that blue one and maybe even lie 3.
If we just like, all we need to do is move it a mil and we're not there.
This is the call, dead freeze.
So he's calling for a dead freeze.
Gonna blast that. That's fine, I guess.
No, I know, but made it first and made it there.
If we go here, right, does that make it easier for him?
So they're looking at the angle blue
No,
back.
this is sticking. You know what I'm saying?
No, really.
Well, just go here. I'm just thinking if we go here, then I don't think it changes this shot. He then just plays big,
but he
big
has to
weight.
be very careful. If he doesn't stick that, this one's going to go.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a game of millimeters right now. So he was actually
close to the
talking
guy,
about
but they
whether
probably hit
he
the blue first.
wants to be dead middle on the center line or whether he wants to be across the
Can he
center
touch
line
it at
just a
all,
bit.
like?
Well, it's the ability to be able to see a rock or two rocks ahead in this game at this level, to envision what's going to happen when your rock is in that position, what you're going to be leaving the opposition. So it's not an easy decision when those rocks are positioned so closely. You're not sure how the angles are going to end up.
This is Glenn Muirhead's final stone here in the 5th end. He's leading 2-1 but does not have the hammer. Again, a very quick release at the hog line. Sweepers are confident with the weight right now. It looks like it's broken. It looks like it's really starting to curl quickly all of a sudden. Has he got it by? Sweepers have got it by. Oh, he's much closer than he was last time. And he's coming in, and a little bit of a bump. And now it looks like they may have left him the angle to get 2 out of this and get their 2 points.
What happened there is blue is now shot.
Blue is shot, and the angle is wrong, or is right if you're Ross Patterson. But he's got to be oh so careful, because if he angles it wrong, just a shade too much weight. Probably had 1 foot too much weight there. Sweepers couldn't touch it. So this is final stone. The 4th end was blank. It's the final end, or final stone of the 5th end, with Glenn Muirhead leading 2-1 over Ross Patterson. But Patterson has the hammer and an opportunity here maybe to score his 2 and take a 3-2 lead. Here we are at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic. It's an 8-end game today. I'm Jock Tyre, privileged to sit beside Elaine Dyke-Jackson, national coach of the women's program for Curling Canada.
Jock keeps sharing my position with you, but many of you know Jock Tyre as the general manager of the Kelowna Curling Club for the past 26 years. Another one of our exceedingly successful curling club managers in Canada.
Patterson doesn't look like he's playing a whole lot of weight here, just a kind of a control weight. Kind of a barrier weight, as the Scots were calling it. Looks like it needs to come up a little bit more. And he makes it for the 2. It looks like he's got 2 there for sure. A little bit of a glare in the ice there, but I'm going to say that's a 2 right now. Well played by Patterson. Glenn Muirhead paying the price of being just a pinch heavy on that his last stone. And when I say a pinch, I mean probably 6 inches to a foot heavy, and that's all it was that made the difference there. So after 5 complete, Ross Patterson from Glasgow with a 3-2 lead over Perth. Glenn Muirhead here Perth at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic here in Penticton, the lovely and talented Penticton Curling Club. The house is full. The crowd is anxious as we play what looks like the Scottish National Championship here. 2 Scottish teams up against each other playing for. Did we decide if it's $18,000 or $16,000, Elaine?
No, I don't know. It's a lot of money here on the line on this game.
And we're hearing last call for 50-50, Elaine, in the background. Again, thanks to BC Gaming for providing a lot of funding towards the Penticton Curling Club and every other curling club in the province. I don't want to underemphasize how much BC Gaming does for curling in British Columbia.
And a lot of people make this event possible. The community support has been incredible here, with so many of the local companies coming on board. Over 70 local businesses have come on board for this event. Is just really, really great. The welcome sign when you drive into Penticton says welcome to the Ashley Home Center Curling Classic. The whole community knows this event is on, and everybody's on board here. So $66,000 purse here at this Penticton World Curling Tour event, and $18,000 to the winner of this game. In addition to the purse for the final 8 qualifiers, teams in the round robin were able to earn $200 per win, and they were presented with their checks as they came off the ice in a wonderful little ceremony where the volunteers recognized their performance with a round of applause as they came off the ice. Special little ceremony, very enthusiastic volunteer crowd at Penticton Curling Club.
Speaking of round robin, in the round robin play, Muirhead's team were going with a perfect 5-0 record, and then 2 wins to get them here during the playoffs. And near perfect was Ross Paterson's rink, going 4-1 in the round robin play, and again 2 wins in the playoffs to make it here to the final today.
Yeah.
So this is a great little curling club, as we mentioned, under the leadership and management of Kathy Jones, who has done an incredible job of organizing and hosting and keeping all of her volunteers focused and ready and enthusiastic. And if you want to try curling, if you're in the South Okanagan and you want to try curling, give her a call. Give Kathy a call at the Penticton Curling Club, and there's lots of opportunities here to get involved. They have a try curling experience on Sundays. They have a great junior curling program. Curling is growing here in the South Okanagan at this club due to the the really great enthusiasm and activity of the club. So give them a call, look on the website, and give curling a try. It's so much fun.
Easy for line.
So we're into a kind of a normal setup, actually. Corner guard, center guard, one behind the center, and it looks like with the hammer,
Let's get it in the rings, boys.
Team Muirhead is trying to angle in there and freeze into it. Looks like it, again, that side of the sheet seems to be a little bit heavier, Elaine. We saw that with Glenn Muirhead coming up 20 feet short on a draw, which is really uncharacteristic, and Cammy Smith coming up a little bit short there. So I think we're still seeing signs of that side of the building being just a little bit heavier.
Well, I don't think we've seen a lot of play over on that side of the sheet, even since that second end where we saw that rock come up short. So, we could have anticipated that a little bit. They are keeping track, of course, as all good front enders and teammates do, about how many rocks have traveled down which path, and they know that they need to throw that a little bit harder, and they need to convince each other by talking about it. And then as the game goes on, of course, they're watching for that spot because they might like to try to force an opposition to have to play down that spot on an important shot.
This is second Duncan Menzies being asked to
just clean, man. Just clean. If it's good weight, clean.
To play up for another guard.
Call, mate. If you're safe for weight, it has to call.
So we're going to see a few rocks in play here in the 6th end.
Big end here.
Ross Patterson leading. Ross Patterson of Glasgow leading pass. Glenn Muirhead 3-2. Muirhead having the hammer here in the 6th end.
And Muirhead having 2 hammers to Patterson's 1 if things unfold and each end has a score. Muirhead has hammer in the 6th and would give up hammer in the 7th and have hammer again in the 8th. And so this is an opportunity to really make the most of trying to score more than 1 in the 6th and get into an advantageous position here in this all-important even end.
So he's asking his brother, Thomas Muirhead, to play a little bit of an angle run back, trying to kill both those blue guards. So we've got to expect there's going to be fairly firm weight with this one.
Right off.
Sets it out just a shade at the end on his release. It's tracking nicely, though. And it looks like he's going to get that double kill and maybe a triple. What a terrific shot. Great shot. Thomas Muirhead, the younger of the 2 brothers, making a triple kill on that one.
And again, some really great appreciation from the fans here at the club. Loving to see these wonderful shots.
Even show them half's okay. Step back covered.
Again, we're down that side here. Stephen's a little bit heavier. And
get it here, Len. Line's good. Line.
Duncan Menzies throwing this stone.
Hard line. Hard line.
And it looks like, again,
Hard. Good.
he's trying to tuck it, wrap it around just a little bit. See how deep they can get it.
Go, 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 go. Really good.
He gets it well buried.
That's a good shot. You know, it is a bit of a brain teaser to watch the opposition come up so much short and then have to follow down that spot. It's a little bit of competitive IQ, of understanding from your experience and the number of times you've been in that kind of a position, and how much to add and it not be too much. And that was a really good
What a great
play.
Great run back, roll over onto the side with that guard.
Now that rock is closer to the center line, and they get another play at it.
So these two Scottish teams, one from Perth, one from Glasgow, actually know each other really well, as last season Kyle Waddell, third for this Ross Patterson rink, was playing with Kyle Smith, Thomas Muirhead, and Cammy Smith. So those were teammates up against each other. And then in 2016, Glenn Muirhead and Ross Patterson were playing together under the tutelage of Tom Brewster. And we think Tom actually is now, I think I'm pretty sure Tom is just coaching now, working with the national program.
Line's good. Get it here. Cuddle if you can. Easy. Just mate.
Clears the guard by a fair bit on that one, and they're trying to finish it.
Yes, I did run into Tom Brewster in China earlier this year, I believe. He was at a big $50,000 first prize event in China with a women's team, I think. See if we can do this shot two times in a row.
Straight run back again. Needs to curl up a bit, and it does, but he doesn't stick it again.
Nice try.
Really hoping one of these times he's going to stick it and make not roll that rock out, but again leaves that center line guard, which for Patterson is his friend. But that guard's getting further and further out, making it a little more difficult to hide behind because of the amount of curl on this ice.
And a little bit harder to run back every
time.
Every time.
Okay, just leave it just now. Clean, clean. Line's good.
Starting to break. There it goes. That looked like it jumped a little bit more than it has on the other stones. I'm not sure if it grabbed something there, if there's a bald spot or something, but that rock really jumped. And there's finishing.
Another precious curling term, a bald spot.
I'm just coming up with. I'm sorry, Elaine.
It's writing a new curling lingo that we're going to come away from the Penticton new curling lingo.
Yep.
And again, playing the run back that looks like it's still got to curl up a bit. And can he stick it this time? He does indeed. It's rolled out to the side, but at least it sticks around, which is all he's been looking for the last three run backs.
So 3 draws in a row, 3 run backs in a row. He's still shaking his head because he wanted it to be buried, run back and buried.
Patterson quite pleased just to keep it very simple right now with his 3-2 lead here in the 6th end. He does not have the hammer. He does not want to give up the deuce. He wants to do his best to force Muirhead to take just his one. So happy to get a little inside roll if he can on this one. Sweeper's trying to hold this one straight. See if they can get that roll, but they only get the smallest roll, but it's definitely not behind cover, making life maybe a little bit easier for Glenn Muirhead, as if he can get this little roll in behind. That might be his opportunity to get his 2 points here down to Skip Rocks. Muirhead trailing 3-2 here in the 6th end at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic, but he does have the hammer in the all-important even ends. He would love to get a 2 right now, go 1 up playing the 7th end.
Yeah, there have not been a lot of multiple points in this game, just 1 in the last end, in the 5th end. So as the ends go by, they need to press just a little harder.
There's that lovely Manitoba tuck delivery. It looks like he's got all that rock, but he needs a little less now. Starting to go, it's broken. He's definitely gonna get a roll. Is he gonna get too much of a roll and come out the side door? He's going all the way over. He's taking it right over behind the other guard if he can. He's part buried it. He did make the removal on that rock, but it looks like it's open from the inside. Just went a little too, or not quite far enough.
But they have to make a decision here. Are they going to freeze down to it? Are they going to try to remove it? They need to negotiate that guard.
If we hit that earlier, if we hit it early, we could have worked it. Aye. Just have to. Hey.
So it looks like they've made the decision. They're going to play a full weight hit down here at that back one, see if they can pick it out and maybe stick it. He's got kind of a barrier control weight here. And if he sticks it, that'll maybe force Muirhead to play. That rock has broken early. It has broken really early. And he's on the guard already. And
looking for plan B here now.
Now they're playing a roll, trying to get it in and get second or get shot out of it, but it's going to be wide open if they do it. And Muirhead has gotten his wish. He's going to get a chance to hit and stick for 2 and to take a 4-3 lead here in the 6th end, the all-important 6th end.
So it just goes to show how quickly things can turn around.
Just like the last end.
What looks like a reasonably routine tap behind that guard. But it caught the curl a little bit early. It could have been weight. It could have been sweeping. Could have been a new path, but
just looking for a control weight out-turn hit. And he needs to make sure he sticks it. Sweepers are on it, keeping it clean right away.
Clean.
Just a clean. And it looks like it's good. Hit and stick for 2. And after 6 ends complete, Glenn Muirhead taking his 2 points with the hammer and making it a 4-3 lead for Glenn Muirhead of Perth over Ross Patterson's Glasgow rink. Here at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic, I'm Jock Tyre sitting here with Elaine Dag-Jackson.
Yeah, it's been a great game, Jock, in our fake Scottish championship, where we're watching the championship final of the Penticton Ashley Home Curling Classic.
Ashley Home Store, again, a proud supporter of curling here in Penticton as well as in Vernon. and Kelowna, and a new store in Salmon Arm coming up, and always been supportive. Marion and Dennis Case, both proud curlers and proud to support their local clubs as we them, and so thank you to them. Thank you to all the other 70 local sponsors. And what's amazing about local sponsors, being from Kelowna, I understand what it's like to have, you know, supporters that aren't necessarily nationally known clubs, where the sponsorship actually means something to the community and to each business that is making those sponsorship, because those are local people that are making, they're bringing in their money locally, and they're proud to support local events. And the clubs, curlers, I think, are the #1 sport for supporting their sponsors. So very proud to have Ashley Home Store and all the other 70 sponsors from the city of Penticton doing such a fabulous job here and in every event Penticton hosts.
Look short.
Based on last year's figures, the local curling community estimates that the impact on the local economy is going to be in the 6 figures as it was last year. It has a huge impact on the community, as Jock mentioned. It's a lot of money coming in with teams traveling in, and hotels and transportation and restaurants and local businesses profiting from the influx of people coming into the community.
Line's good. Line's fine.
So after a relatively straightforward start of a number of single points being taken and a blank, we've had 2 twos in a row, and now we will see what happens in the last 2 ends of the game.
Michael Goodfellow being asked to throw a rock in on the top 4 foot, and again, this is kind of repetitive of the 5th ending, a little bit deep, just a pinch deep this time, and puts it behind, just behind the tee line. Not quite what they were looking for, and it's definitely open.
I like that. Freeze.
So with a little bit of control in the scoreboard, just 2 ends left to play here, the 7th and 8th. Muirhead leading 4-3, but without the hammer. He's asking Cammy Smith to come down and freeze on top of that blue stone with a red Muirhead stone.
Line should be fine. Just let her run. Whoa, no. Let it chew. Okay, Cammy.
Well, apparently the 50-50 winner was right beside me, Elaine, and he's just a little bit excited. Obviously, one of the volunteers who spent the entire weekend here at the club, and very excited. He probably has about my guess is he's got about $310 worth of friends that just want to meet him right now. I think he just rang the bell, and there's a round of drinks on the way.
Yeah, one happy guy sitting over here next to us, one of the Penticton volunteers, just won the 50-50. Jock and I were too busy here hosting our broadcast to be able to participate in buying the 50-50 tickets today, but we're glad that somebody won that $300.
Looking for a little bit of an inside roll here after that last one that went behind the tee line. Muirhead looking whether it's time to clean that up a little bit, or whether he wants to take advantage of that rock that's behind.
There's 2 feet between them. I wouldn't mind getting rid of this back one.
So he's looking for a hack weight hit.
Aye, but then that means this is spilling out of here, so I don't mind that. Hack.
Lane, is he asking for that straight back, or was he asking for it to spill across? Was he looking for the double?
I think he is looking to roll but lose the back one.
Line. Whoa.
If that's possible.
I think he's just trying to come up his paper that guard, get as close to nose as possible. There it goes.
Aye, great shot.
There you go.
Very nice.
Real nice.
So he's removed the one rock, and it's still behind the tee line. And the angle is really nice for him.
Light ripping.
Make it very difficult to remove that red stone without taking the blue one out with it at the same time. So Ross Patterson now has to decide what's he want to do with this end. Is he going to go hard for his 2? Is he going to blank and try and get his 2 in the last end?
I think this was probably always staying.
I think that's what they have. You know, those meetings are so important so that the whole team's on the page between ends. You've only got 2 ends left to play. This is your chance with the hammer. What are you going to do with it?
Exactly. You've got 2 chances. You've got the 7th end, you've got the 8th end. And are you going to go for the tie? Or are you going to go for the win?
Looks like the run back on this one. He's going to clear the guard out for sure, but I don't think he's got enough of it to get the double. So very defensive play.
Yeah.
Not sure it necessarily means he's given up on the end, but here we are at second stones.
Yeah, that's better than under anyway. End turn okay?
Thomas Muirhead being asked just to come down on top of that one.
We're basically just touching the center line is what we need.
Looks like it's wide on that a little bit,
Well, it looks touching it to me.
and it looks like it's going to be bumping that rock.
Okay.
Yeah. May get them all.
Looks like he's
Purple heavy.
not pleased with that shot from his brother. Couple feet heavy.
They're looking to clear the house on this one, I believe.
Asking Duncan Menzies to throw a high hard one and see if he can't blow everything apart.
Hard! Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yep, yep.
And indeed he does it. What a great shot.
They make that look so easy.
Incredible. And look at that, cleans the
draw
house
would you like?
right out.
We're just coming in.
So unfortunately it means it's going to be a long 7th end with Glenn Muirhead leading
Throw a center guard.
4-3, playing the 7th here, but Patterson having the hammer, and with him blowing everything apart there, it looks like Kyle Smith is going to be putting one right in the rings, and I'm going to guess that we're going to be trading hits for a little while here.
We are, Jock. What do you want to talk about?
Elaine, I've got an idea. Let's talk about curling.
Bring it up to
Oh
just
yeah,
a
we love
usable
curling,
place
and even
anyway,
if it's a straightforward
Away
end, we
along
still
2
love the privilege of watching these great curling games with these great teams.
And he's actually calling for a nice tight guard. I
There
love
you
this
go.
call.
Just when we thought we
Just
knew
when
a
we
lot.
thought it was going to be boring. So what he's hoping for, I guess, here is that one of Patterson's rocks either is errant and is a flash, or is hits it on the nose and leaves a guard behind. Great to watch. Oh, it looks like we might get the... No, he gets just a little bit.
Just enough.
Kyle Waddell. Kyle Waddell, former teammate of Kyle Smith, Thomas Muirhead, and Cammy Smith. We had an uh-oh coming out of his mouth and a little laughter between the former teammates.
Same again. Maybe a hair tighter.
Well, normally when you're fighting a bit, you have to just give it a bit and it'll be okay, but here, if you're a hair tight, you still gotta let it go. Like, the boys can back it up almost as much as you want.
Oh, aye. Aye, it's good sweeping ice.
The boys are trying to drag it just a little bit closer. They want to try and take advantage of
There's a straight
this
turn
free
there.
guard.
Really, isn't it?
This is the second stone here in the 7th end for Ross Patterson's rink. He's got the hammer here. Kyle Waddell just trying to clean up house. Looks like he set it out a little bit, but again, looks like the result is exactly what he's looking for. Is he going to call another one? We're into skip stones. Are we going to see another guard? Or are we going to just see
Just
the
ice, mate.
into the ring?
You literally,
Aye, we'll throw it out
you
there.
literally that inside the brush.
Must
But
be
you
a
just-
player
the
missing. I'm
lines
going to
are-
guess that
you
someone's
give it
gone for a bathroom break.
Isn't it?
Well,
Kyle Smith isn't there, and Thomas Muirhead is actually holding the broom for him.
Aye. We'll just throw it to the wing, will we? If I end up leaving it short, is he going to come round it like?
So these teams are constantly guessing about
Same weight here, Cam.
what the opposition is going to do when they play their shot. If they put up a guard, are they risking the chance that they're going to go around it?
I think I've given you too much, too much. It's all there.
Skipper calling it too much weight out of his hand, but the sweepers actually, sweepers are not concurring with him, and they're trying to keep that rock going out there. Putting out in the bush a little bit.
Edge of rock barrier. Oh, check out.
And again, the barrier weight call. $18,000 on the line here in the 7th end. Muirhead up 4-3.
So Team Patterson really looking to go all out to blank this end. Of course, Team Muirhead would like nothing more than to figure out how to force Team Patterson to stick on their hammer.
And you can hear the discussion. I mean, we're hearing the microphone, and he's stuck on that one. We're hearing the discussion with on the sidelines with Muirhead and his teammates saying we played that end wrong. We should have been forcing them a little bit harder to make a score. So are they going to be happy? And it sounds like they're discussing whether to play the freeze in here, Elaine. Do they force the issue and try and make him score a point and take a chance that they might give up the 2? If they freeze down to it, they might give up the 2. Or
yeah, it's risk versus reward, and we know the worst possible situation to be in is tied coming home without last rock. So really that's what you want to avoid.
Barrier.
But we know if they do blank this end, that the team that's one up without hammer will still have about a 70% chance of winning the game. 70% probability.
And they're sweeping this hard, trying to maintain that line out there. And a little roll to the wing. They just want it to roll a little bit to the outside, make it just a little more challenging.
Yeah.
Make them think about this one. So Patterson trying to blank this end. Here in the 7th at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic.
And I will make a little correction. It's about 60% to
60-40,
yeah.
whether, okay. Now, how many of those would win it in regulation versus going to an extra end?
Well, we'll get to that when we come to that. Step by step, John.
Putting the stone, or the broom dead center on that stone. No sweeping. Oh, they got a bit of a sweeping call now.
Whoa.
He wants to roll out with this stone. And he does.
Roll out he does.
And it's a blank in the 7th end. So after 7 complete here in Penticton at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic, Glenn Muirhead leads 4-3 over Ross Patterson, both from Scotland. And Patterson, going into the final end, has the hammer. I'm Jock Tyre. I'm sitting here with Elaine Dag-Jackson, national coach for Curling Canada's women's program. And we are fortunate enough to be here in Penticton enjoying some awesome curling from the 2 teams from Scotland who are vying for $18,000. So between these 2 teams over the course of the competition, there is only 1 loss. Glenn Muirhead throwing the red stones has a perfect 7-0 record. Ross Patterson's Bluestone team 6-1 on the event.
So there's no arguing that these 2 teams deserve to be here in this final game. They've been consistent, steady all week. They've had some great games against some great teams. They've beat some of Canada's best in their round robin games and in the playoff games. And now it comes down to the 8th end, possibly the final end, but looking more and more like there's a chance of this game going to an extra end.
Easy.
This key first stone, I mean, there was lots of discussion going on with Muirhead's team on how they want to play this final
line's
end.
nice. Thomas clean.
And they're opting to go straight into the top 4 foot's the call.
Right here. Fours come down big again. Right,
The more perfect that shot is, the more trouble that it is to deal with that at some point in the end. We've seen a few of those first rocks of the end slip to the back of the house where it's really of no consequence, or even perhaps the friend of the opposing team that's looking to score 2 points. So Muirhead's team has put that rock really in the best spot possible in order to start this end.
Patterson with a little bit of thought there. And he's opting for the... I thought he was calling the corner guard. He is indeed.
I believe he is.
I just saw him indicate to the left side of the skip's left side of the sheet, and he's not. He's going to the skip's right side of the sheet.
Line's good. Line's good. Stay with it. Easy. Then you just go let it sit. Just let it sit. No, Kel, no, 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 no. It's the save of the day.
So, Elaine, I did want to mention earlier, we've got a very active pro shop at the Kelowna Curling Club, and we get a lot of questions about what's the difference between a competition broom head fabric and a regular club broom head fabric. And as a pro shop seller, I let people know that the brooms that are out there right now, those brooms are the exact same as at the curling club. There's the difference being that the fabric is less aggressive and a little bit thinner and wears out a fair bit faster than the what your standard broom would have. And also for those people that have a hammer broom, which you'll see Team Muirhead's using, or not hammer, sorry, hardline, the hardline broom that the ice pen, I can't believe I said hammer, that's an old broom. Anyway, the hardline broom is they also take the plastic insert out and change the fabric on them.
Exactly, and you know, if we put some of those club brooms in the hands of these almost professional curlers, we would see them be able to manipulate these rocks to a greater degree. So club curlers, don't buy the yellow pads. You don't need to. Buy the regular pads because you will be better, more effective sweeper with the regular ones that we used to be allowed to use in the competitive play. So that was a great guard on there. It's almost perfect, little tiny bit more curl. So this all-important fourth rock of the end should be positioned in a really good spot in order to set up the possibility of scoring the 2 points here. And also even in being able to make sure you can score 1.
Line's good.
And there it goes. It starts to break there. You can see once it goes, it really takes off. So they got to try and paper it by that guard. And he looks a little bit on the light side. I'm not. That's definitely lighter than they wanted. They definitely have lost their angle there and curled up. It's not open to play a run back, and he came up just a little bit light. If it had been in the same spot, but touching that redstone, it would have been perfect.
I think we just keep them in a line, boys. He can't, well, that's going through here then if he does that.
Thomas Muirhead in the hat getting instructions from his older brother Glenn.
So Skipper has a very clear idea of what he wants to have happen here.
The batter. Guard the red.
So trying to keep everything in a straight line.
Less then, because it's a wee hair longer, okay?
This path out here has been, it's gone a fair way out with the broom.
Off then.
So this is that heavier path that we've noticed a few rocks being a little heavier. Not quite as wide as those ones that came up light.
Wasn't enough line. Okay.
Came up a bit light there, but it still does the job.
A little bit of an over curl, which is a lot better than a little bit of an under curl in that spot.
It also makes it more challenging for them to try and play that bump on that blue one.
Right in line.
Patterson's probably to be thinking about how to clean things up a little bit and get his angles back, because right now it's all Muirhead out there.
Yeah, there's $18,000 on the line here for the first place team. Of course, the second place team is also going to get a nice little paycheck, but everybody wants to be the winner, the champion, and that's all on the line here in the 8th end. We'll either find out here, or if there's only 1 point scored, we'll go to the extra. Very important shot here.
Stay close. Apron's good.
Just trying to set the angle up on the other side.
Room just now. Close for line. Still room. Mike only. Mike only. Mike only. Mike cannot.
Mike being Michael Goodfellow, the lead, trying to get that rock to curl a little bit. A little bit of a bump and off. It kicks off.
Yeah, there was not much finish on that shot. They would have liked to have been able to use the sweepers a little bit more to finish it into position, and you know, all of the curl comes at the very end of the shot, so if you can have it slow down a little sooner, you can sweep it to curl a little bit more at the end. If it keeps moving further, it's going to curl more. So that was not the perfect place for that shot.
Leading this game 4-3. We're in the last and the 8th end of play. Glenn Muirhead's asking his younger brother Thomas just to play a freeze in on top of that blue stone.
Whoa.
Looks a little firmer. Looks a little firmer than a freeze, but it's been a little heavier out on that side today.
Only Cammy.
Trying to get a little bit of a curl on that rock.
Line's good for freeze, boys. Kyle! Right up then. Right up. Hard!
Terrific shot. Not quite a freeze.
Switched if I thought we were bumping.
So all important comment there from Skipper. I thought we were bumping, and that makes a huge difference on how you finish that shot with the sweeping. If the sweepers had given a little bit more precision on the line call or on the weight call, then Muirhead would have been able to give a little bit more precision call on the line call, and they could have made that shot a little bit more perfect.
That rock just seemed to die at the end. The last couple feet just seemed to stop really quickly. I thought it had a little more legs even at the midway point in the free guard zone. I thought that was going to slide right into it, and I think so did Skip.
Yeah, and it's not unusual to see that happen. Sometimes we see a little bit of change in ice conditions, getting a little slower, especially down the slide path or where a lot of rocks have traveled over the course of the game. So it's not unusual, but again, the competitive IQ of a curler, they've been in these positions many times before, and they've watched those rocks as they finish into the house at this late point in the game, and you know, they really want to do their very best in judging those accurately.
Just that little margin of error is allowing Ross Patterson to play the run back double, see if he can't angle it, just slash it across and get the double on this.
Whoa. Ah! Whoa.
Doesn't get the double, but he does get rid of one of those red rocks, and now he's lying shot rock.
Okay.
Yes, we've got a few rocks to come here, and I've just had a nice message from David Hay back in Scotland, who's watching this game. It's 10 o'clock in the evening back in Scotland, and he's kicking back, enjoying the Scottish week. Here we are at the fake Scottish Curling Championship in Penticton, BC, with knowing that Scotland just won the Europeans. So it's a wonderful week for Scotland. Hi, David. Glad you could join us even at this late hour in your home in Scotland.
Aye, but if we hang about here, then the shooter's going to be out-counted, isn't it?
Yeah, aye. Okay.
Well, what's his?
We're rolling under the red. You know what I mean? We probably have to. Even that is going to be no double. No, but there's a roll under. If he decides to freeze here, right, we can just keep playing the come around. Aye, or are we thinking just rip it out?
So discussion between Skip and third, whether to rip that rock, that blue rock, right out of there and roll the shooter
We're
away.
potentially just
so that there's
trying to be too smart by hanging around, are we?
Yeah, there's a little conversation. Are we trying to get too cute here, trying to make things too perfect rather than just play the easy shot and stay safe?
They don't need the point. You know, it's they're lying shot here. They do not want to give up a 2, obviously, but they also don't want to make it any easier for him to get his 2.
Barrier.
So he's calling a hit and roll out to the wing. And I'm thinking the further away, the better, as long as he's second shot out there on the sidelines.
Okay. Yeah.
You've got 2 skips out there right now, with Kyle Smith skipping his rink in last season and Glenn Muirhead to skip this season. Looked like a little in-out motion on that rock. And the sweepers are keeping it clean. I think he's going to roll away. No intention of sticking around with that one there. So
and that'll open up this one.
Now Patterson needing to get at least a single, but hoping for a 2 in this end, is trying to set this up. We're down to third stones here.
Just try and catch this.
Patterson having the hammer, but trailing 4-3 here in the 8th end.
And we know it's a much easier route for Team Patterson to win this in the 8th end because they'd be at a severe disadvantage going into an extra end without hammer. You know, perhaps not quite as much of a disadvantage as when we had the 4-rock rule, but we know that the tied with hammer, you're at an advantage. So he would definitely like to find a way to set up his 2 here in 8.
You got enough for dead tack or back line? How's that look?
So he's looking for a red, blue, red combination here.
You all go back line. Dead tack. There you go.
What's the shot?
Trying to get everything to stick around, but open things up and get the line better.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Not yet. Whoa! Carl! Gotta go, mate. Gotta go. Really gotta go.
Sweeping to try to get a little bit of curl here.
Not enough. He needed to catch a little more of that rock to make impact into that blue one, because right now that blue one, it might be the right color, but it's in the wrong position to get that run back. So, and that looks like that blue, red one on the side is just biting a little bit of lane.
Well, it did go in and then it went out, but the overhead camera is not giving quite the same picture as the club overhead camera.
And the overhead, it looks like it's just back. It's hard to say. I don't want to be making a decision from here anyway.
It's definitely a measure.
Just have to guard this, Kyle.
If it came down to that, it would definitely be a measure for the extra point.
Glenn Muirhead just happy to be lying shot. Again, we're at third stones. This is his third, Kyle Smith's last rock. He's just asking for one to be put just in the middle between that red guard and the blue one in the top 12.
Easy. Oh. Switch.
Needs a bit of curl here.
Gotta switch it. Thomas, you.
Team Muirhead
Easy.
looking to protect their shot rock. Team Patterson is second shot.
Good line on that one. So that red stone again is buried now. And the angles are not great, so they're looking at Patterson as 3 rocks left to score 2. 1 to tie, 2 to take this title, and $18,000 home to Glasgow.
Just positive. That's exactly the same, bruh. That's exactly the same as what we had
He's
Cam
now
on.
forcing
Yeah.
And then we
forcing the
cut Thomas a
Patterson
couple
team
of
out into the
inches,
sides
and
here,
then
and this is
slightly
that almost that exact
throw
spot
slightly
that
softer, and then he's coming
Muirhead
across
came
in
up a
the
little
centre.
short because it was a little
Just a
heavy out there on the
slight
sidelines.
profile.
We have noticed throughout this game that this is a heavier path than the other side of the house. They should be getting to know it a little better by this point.
Okay,
They coming
line's good.
round here.
Room just now.
They're so fortunate. They
Just
miss
Mike.
that shot and then they flick
On
it
you go,
there,
Len.
which
Up to
leaves
you.
the double.
Just
That
Mike.
does-
Line's good. Mike.
You don't think?
Carl.
Oh really?
Go again, get
Still
it.
sliding, and it's wide open.
Get on it. Get on it.
Okay.
Here, a
Shot
little,
rock.
little bit of unhappiness
Kyle
back
Waddell,
there.
a little bit of frustration there.
They're playing a back
That
line
rock
inside
is
it.
not fully open, but mostly open.
And behind the tee line, which makes it a little bit easier to deal with.
A big shout out to Shaw and a special thanks to Shaw Television for allowing us to do this broadcast all day today. It's been my pleasure to work with Elaine Dag-Jackson, national coach for our women's program here in Canada. I'm Jock Tyre.
But you want? Do we think we want
Yeah,
rid
we-
of it, or are we just going to
We're in
freeze
the
inside
eighth
it?
end with Team Muirhead
I know, but I
leading
was
4 to
asking what you
3
think as well.
and throwing the Redstones over top of Team Ross Patterson, who is trailing 4 to 3, but has the hammer in this final end.
If we move it, we need to go out here.
The
No, we're
discussion
only in the
here
same
now
shot
is
then.
whether
That's
they're
the
going to
shot.
move this rock or whether they're going to draw. Every decision taking a
what I
little
gave
bit
you for
longer
the
than it did earlier in this game because every decision is very critical here.
I can be positive out in this
No
line
time
here
clocks
too.
on this event.
Think we'll
It is a
hold
World
my
Curling
throw
Tour event, and there are no time clocks.
What are you thinking for weight? Just
But we're nearing the very close to the 2.5 hour mark here for this 8-end game, so a little longer than most people would play at club level. Okay, a lot more than people would play at club level. At my club, you'd be kicked off already.
speak to Kyle.
But we're not playing for $18,000, are we?
Nor have we ever played for $18,000, Jock.
That's a good point, Elaine.
So far.
Early, we might have to go in the sweat.
So we're coming down to this blue rock. First skip stones
Go then.
for Glenn Muirhead.
Yeah, the blue rock is shot. It's not in a perfect position, but it is shot rock.
This rock looks a little bit on the light side, but the sweepers are dragging it a long way. It makes me wonder if
Yeah, that's light. That is not going to make them happy.
if Glenn Muirhead's stone isn't having an issue with those stones. A little late to be deciding that now, but it just seems to be that his are not sliding quite as well as anybody else's.
I didn't think I threw that light.
If I show him anything that he could,
Really?
he could stuff across.
Cammy acknowledging that he did throw that light.
I didn't think I threw that light. Slower line than
Boys, once it's passed and we're good weight.
Well, we know that is a slower line. There was a little bit of room for error in being a little bit heavy. You didn't want to be heavy, but it would have been better than being light.
I would have probably made sure. I don't mind that. I don't mind there.
Move that here, slow here. Yeah.
So Patterson is throwing down
Big
the
thing, mate.
same line.
Yeah.
Hoping for a different result.
Yeah.
The hand was quite happy. That's a throwing him down that line, right?
Ross Patterson trying to do exactly what Glenn Muirhead was trying to do and just come down in on top of that one, block the path, and allow him to lie too.
Line. Whoa. Whoa!
Something off this.
Whoa, Ed. Easy.
This rock list looks different. It's got
Wow.
more
Completely
rotation
different.
and it's kind of
It's got lots of weight and it needs to curl a little bit, but I don't know that it's going to. He's bumped his own and rolled over. I'm not sure if there's a double there, Elaine, or not. It looks like there might be a very thick double. You'd have to hit an awful lot of that stone to make it.
I don't think so.
Probably going to struggle
Sorry.
to get shot, aren't we?
Or the guy. No, we're not going to get shot. We'll just stop him getting shot.
No, I know, but I'm just talking about can we get through.
Sorry,
So-
boys.
So they know they're not going to get shot. They want to draw down and make it as difficult as possible to not give up 2.
So yeah, we either guard this.
I think Glenn was just indicating that if they get down there and they're not second shot by a lot, then Ross Patterson can just play an in-off on the rock he just threw and get to the back forefoot and get lie 2. So it's obviously it's a key shot being the last one.
That's the shot.
There's 2 rocks to come. Each skip has 1 rock each.
If we guard it, then what's he got? Nothing.
Judging from the path on the other
Nah,
side,
he's got
it
that.
looks really difficult for a draw coming in the other side.
I
I think Kyle Smith's correct in saying that if he
Yeah,
can get,
so
if he
we
can get
guard
into the
that
top
and he's not
foot
got that.
partially
He's not got the
buried,
draw, or
he's not going to have
got that.
anything to make that second point.
Down and tap out the fourth.
Oh, no chance.
It's over, buddy.
No
You probably
chance.
get right to there. If you heard it, you might get shot, but you're flirting with wrecking and then it's...
Coming right in. If we end up over curling top 8, he's still got this hit and roll, isn't he? We just guard the line, eh?
Okay.
What do you think? I think so, eh?
So now they're looking at
think
just
we
throwing
just-
a guard up there and making sure that they block
For
the
us?
hit and roll and block
Don't
the
think so.
Into the back.
draw path.
I don't think it's there. I think we just have to guard this, because then we're guarding both shots.
Okay. How are you guarding at what turn? Is it this corner?
Well, no, do we not just play the same line on the out turn?
The risk with that is that we're always in danger of over curling, whereas this one, you know, we can make it curl.
What line would we...
A lot of back and forth here on 2 different
Like
shots.
this is not going to be any good. Like, we either guard or we come in, because if we're top 8, he can roll off his own and he's going to catch the back of his. We need to be in or there.
No, we'll throw the guard. We're just going to throw the guard in the end turn then. Yeah.
So they've decided to
We're
come off the
basically
center
guarding
line,
blue.
Yeah, so that's the shot we're
and they're
guarding.
just going to guard that.
So it's an end turn.
If they guard the
Yeah.
inside roll on that blue
should
one,
guard that.
then it looks like they will also be guarding the draw path so that he cannot draw in on that out turn side.
And they have made the wise decision to throw an intern on this shot. Sometimes we see a team with a little bit less experience trying to throw an out turn down there where they're trying to
Think so.
prevent it from curling.
I think it's the best we've got.
And it's much easier to keep a rock going, to have it curl more. On the intern, they will have the ability to keep the rock moving until it gets to the perfect spot.
This will be a slightly quicker line, will it? Yeah.
They're going to have to wait a little while because they've got that long center guard that has to break off of before they can start sweeping that. Their indication is it's a 3, which is a deep guard,
Cammy only.
very tight to the rings.
Cammy only. Clean
And
only.
again, they're only trying to block that red
Clean.
stone or that blue stone on the back.
Clean only.
They're saying clean, but they don't really want to clean it because it's a little heavy.
And that's a good position. So they're going to have to look for the draw or an in-off. They're looking at a side in-off,
Yeah.
which is a great call. They've blocked the tough one, or the easiest one over there.
My feeling like that's going to work. That out turn if they were felt away.
So now they have to look and see, is there enough room around that guard to get to the inside and roll it in.
Just dead hot.
Yeah.
Like dead hot.
So here we are in the 8th end, final rock yet to come.
At this moment, we are looking at a tie game.
Glenn Muirhead up 4-3 on Ross Patterson.
The tying point is there. And now we're just waiting to see if
Hack, he may not be enough.
they're going to make this shot to get their second point.
I think it's hack.
They're talking about the kind of weight they want to throw. They know the shot, but
Dead hatch.
Literally like hitting it there.
Dead hatch. There. Let's make it.
Kyle Waddell holding the broom for Ross Patterson. He's going to play the intern hit. Try and come off the red stone and roll full 4. He's just got to beat that one red stone out that's just nibbling on the edge of the 4-foot.
I believe they said they're looking to hit half a rock.
Got to be cautious if they don't hit less of that. And I don't know if that's even possible with that guard there, but if they hit less, they could take their own stone out and give up the game.
Go!
Right now, it's on the nose of it. It's got to come up a fair bit. And it's taken off.
Whoa!
There it goes. It's curling. He's got less than half.
Get in.
And he's rolled across.
Sit.
And it's out the back door. It was a beautiful shot, but it's a single point for Patterson. That ties it up at 8 in the 8th end at 4 apiece. What a beautiful attempt. So here we are going into extra innings here in Penticton at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic. All tied up at 4. Team Muirhead has the hammer into this all-important extra end. $18,000 on the line for the winner of this game. What a terrific shot. Just a little more sweeping and he would have made that shot. It was unfortunate because it looked like he had it made and then it just kept rolling. Kyle Smith, being all attentive, jumped on top of that stone and swept it through at the Ashley Home Store Classic. It's extra innings here at the Penticton Curling Club. Huge crowd here watching and cheering it on. It has been sold out all weekend. $18,000 on the line. $66,000 has been given away this week. And congratulations to the Penticton Curling Club. It's been so exciting. They decided to give you an extra end to watch. And here we go. Both these teams from Scotland. Glenn Muirhead from Perth. Ross Patterson throwing the blue stones from Glasgow. Former teammates on both teams. They've played with each other. They know each other really well. They know each other so well it's tied up here in the 8th or in the 9th end. Patterson opting for the long first guard.
Set.
Just over the line. One of the toughest rocks to throw is that really short guard because you have to almost hog it and let your sweepers take it. Very exciting here in the Penticton Granite Club.
This is the straight bit, Tommy.
So here we see a chip attempt to see if they can split this center guard and make 2 corners out of it. Cammy Smith being asked to play a little intern flop for the left-hander. See if he can split it across. Here it goes.
Whoa, Thomas!
Try and keep it straight. And a beautiful little chip. And if you can get that in the rings. Oh, what a great shot. What a great shot, Cammy Smith. Opening it up there.
So we get to have just a little bit more curling, the extra end, and the people
fans
here in Penticton are super happy. They don't have to go home yet. One more end of curling at this great event.
I think the theory being, Elaine, if we stay here long enough, we won't have to go back to work today. And Penticton deserves this extra end. They've done such a great job here putting on an amazing bonspiel. The players wanted to show their appreciation by giving them an extra end to play. $18,000 on the line here in this very last end, the 9th end, the extra end. Glenn Muirhead, former teammate Ross Patterson, head-to-head against each other. And again, they're going to ask Southpaw Cammy Smith to see if he can make that chip shot twice in a row.
Close, Thomas. Yep. Hard.
It's curling up hard here. He doesn't want to get too much of it. He needs to get just about a quarter of that rock so he doesn't push it too far. It has to stay in play or else it gets reset. And little bump, and it does Does it go out? That's the only thing that matters, whether it goes out of play or not. A brilliant shot, my goodness, two in a row. It doesn't get any better than that. Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, so he has done his job. We're seeing that more and more where those ticks are being made.
But we got the 5-rock rule here in play, so we got another guard coming up.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very deflating to watch that happen. You put up those guards and you watch them go away, and once those two center guards are gone, your chance of winning this game goes way, way down.
And the positioning on those, the way he rolled and everything, his weight was absolutely perfect. And I mean, you can just tell by that rock on the sideline, he had a millimeter to spare there. If it goes out, then that rock gets reset. And he just put it to the sidelines so it doesn't go out. This one doesn't, it looks like it's deep. Duncan Menzies, the second, looks like he's put it in the rings, and I think we're just going to see hits now. Or is it? Is it in? It is not. It's just a millimeter short.
But
this is the 6th rock of the end, so we can hit. So I'm thinking he's probably going to try and, I don't know if he's going to try and cross the face and roll into those pack on the side or not. It looks like he's just going to be glad to peel it out on the right-hand side. His brother Thomas throwing the stone. Glenn Muirhead, Kyle Smith at 3rd. Thomas Muirhead at 2nd, and Cammy Smith, 2 brothers. 2 sets of brothers playing together here for the Perth located team up against Ross Patterson, Kyle Waddell, Duncan Menzies, and Michael Goodfellow at lead. Menzies throwing his second stone here.
I don't know what I was trying to do. I was just
left bend.
So this is not going to be quite as an exciting end as the last one by the looks of it. At this early point in the end, we were able to enjoy a lot of rocks in play and a lot of precision shots in the 8th end. We're now waiting for a miss to see if anybody's going to have a bit of a challenging shot. Doesn't look like it so far.
Just happy to roll into his own and maybe slice it across if he can pick that one on the side, but right now he's just happy to keep that center line as clear as possible. Quick sweep call, maybe he was a little bit tight. And a flat roll across, does it come off? It does come off and goes into the rings.
And
very fortunate there,
rock.
And it's shot rock. So it takes out that little, like we like to call them, flobs on the sideline.
That one.
Little insurance policy, that red rock hanging on may seem like a small deal, but what that does is ensure that Team Muirhead, should they happen to hit and roll out on their last rock, they do have a little bit of an insurance policy with shot rock over there on the side.
Kyle Waddell in his first 3rd stones being asked to put up a corner guard over there, so now they're kind of hoping and on a hope and a prayer that maybe they can build something up and get a jam over there on the side when they try to clear this corner guard off.
Yep. Good.
The other Kyle being asked to clear this one off.
Yeah, Thomas.
And he's sending it over towards the side. Little brotherly love there again, telling his brother Thomas to stay close if you're going to sweep
Don't we call that coaching?
Brotherly love, I like to call that. Big brother letting little brother know that he's not happy with his performance.
Okay. Line's good. Just dunk.
They're playing a bump this?
I don't believe so. I think again they're coming up, trying to get that corner in there, so it makes it hard to them to peel that out.
Good.
Yeah, you're right. I thought I heard him say bump.
I think he was just Dunk, which would be Duncan Menzies, the second on the team for sweeping. I think that's what the call was. I mean,
Thank you
it's
for
the Scottish-
translating that
it's the
Scottish
Scottish.
language for me. Like I said, we need to go to Perth and see for ourselves.
Absolutely. And again, Kyle Smith being asked just to blow this rock out on the sideline.
So at some point, they will continue to guard and peel. At some point, yes, we'll see.
Here it comes. Little hit and roll, see if they can lie too. Calisthenics going on there in the back bench as Skip Glenn Muirhead tries to stay warm out there. He's been wearing that parka out there the whole time.
Barrier.
He's anticipating that he's going to have to either throw a hit or throw a draw here. Likely a draw for the win. And $18,000 here at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic. We're in an extra end. I'm Jock Tyre with the privilege of sitting beside Elaine Dyke-Jackson. We've been here all day, bringing to you the Shaw broadcast.
Yep, $66,000 in purse money here at this huge World Curling Tour event.
Hard!
My goodness, it's really curling right there. He's got about half a stone. He's going to be, no, he's got a little more than half a stone, not as much roll as I thought he'd get. So if he hits and sticks, it looks like the indication was if he gets just a stick there, he'll be shot rock with it. And they'll have to make a play on it. I'm thinking that if he does stick right there, Elaine, that we might see Ross Patterson try and use that as a guard and wrap around it.
I would think so, because there you go. Yeah.
I've seen weirder things used as guards before. I seem to remember a Briar where a top 4-foot rock was used as a guard for a
Anything
Briar
can
victory.
be a guard, as long as it's not behind the tee line.
Easy. Yep. Hard, Cammy.
And he does stick it out there. Is he shot?
Yeah.
It looks like he is shot stone, and he's going to opt to play the hit on here. I'm a little surprised by that. I would have been really tempted to come and wrap around, but right now the indication he's going to play a hit.
Probably just wants a little bit of a roll.
Wouldn't you be tempted to just get a small roll and try and hope that maybe he plays the draw? And
Well, for sure that's what he is indicating, that
if you roll too far, it's going to be an easy hit.
yeah, just a little
wide
roll,
open.
so that
Just want a little bit of a roll.
so that it's definitely on the rings.
Ross Patterson, his ring from Glasgow, Scotland. Glenn Muirhead and his ring from Perth.
No. Scott, Kyle. Kyle!
Kyle.
Whoa.
And there's that little roll, except it's much bigger than a little roll. Right to the top button. So I don't think we're going to see anything but a hit on this one. I don't think
Well,
he's
there's
left
no
him
choice
he's
here
left him
but
no
to play
choice
the
at all.
hit. So obviously he had that in mind. He
I think we're going to see that famous barrier weight right now for the win. Here we are in the extra end, all tied up. Muirhead throwing the hammer right now, hoping to stick around. If he doesn't stick around, there's a little biter on the outside that is going to give Ross Patterson and his Glasgow rink a win at $18,000.
It's been a great game. It's always wonderful when the game comes down to the last rock at an extra end. It's been a close-fought battle.
And here we go. Let's listen to this one.
Yep. Whoa. Switch.
And the crowd is clapping already because they know
Your 2018 champions, the Perth rink, Glenn Muirhead, Kyle Smith, Thomas Muirhead, and Cammy Smith. the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic second annual. Congratulations to both rinks. $66,000 given away this weekend.
It was a great end of the game. An open hit to win the game, which is not always easy. They want to make sure they don't overthrow this rock.
And a
nice control weight. They finished it just down for a hit and stick and the win. So congratulations to Team Muirhead. It's been our pleasure to bring you these two games here today from Penticton Curling Club and the Ashley Home Curling Classic.
I'm Jock Tyre. That's Elaine Dag Jackson. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.